is serving your interest. So I am very much happy with your introduction.
Right.
People may have to let government know what they are expecting of him. A very funny one which I'll put quickly across, which was my observation. I called a friend and said two things. Did you see how Ghanaians voted? He said yes. I said good. Did you see the applause that the Burkinabe president drew during the
I was surprised.
The swearing in?
Exactly.
He said yes. I said that tells you Ghanaians are looking for leadership, not democracy. We're looking for wherever we will find it. Leadership is what they are looking for. Here is the case. They voted overwhelmingly for somebody coming to office as a democratic leader. And they saw a military leader and they say, yes, this is again the guy, another guy. So they are looking for leadership. It is not democracy that you are looking for.
I think it confirms what the Afrobarometer report has been saying, that most Ghanaians are losing confidence in the democracy that we are practicing. And just like you said, it is not really about the democracy. It's about leadership. And so Ghanaians are looking for a leader, however means they will get the leader. That's what they are interested in. And truly, personally, I was so surprised at how they applauded the Burkinabe president. It looks like all the presidents that came, he was the one that...
He was the only one who received actually attention. So democracy is a means to an end. It's not an end in itself. We just don't proud ourselves to say we are democratic. In fact, we have seen suppression in democracy. We have seen neglect of the people in democracy to the extent that people even, I think many of the youth were starting to behave, to believe that if there should be a coup, it would have been better.
Better, that's true.
Which, to me,
that is very true.
Tells you that we don't need democracy for democracy's sake. We need the leadership and the service to mankind that comes with it. So
that is very
good.
That's really, really true. So as I indicated, you can get interactive with us. What do you expect? That is the question we are looking at. We are looking at the new age of corruption-free governance. What do you, as a citizen, expect? This country, the democracy we are practicing, is owned by the people. It's owned by you and I, not the leaders. The leaders are just, or the political leaders, they are just, you know, holding positions in trust for us. Just like Mr. Domelov said, they are there to serve the interests of the public, and the public includes you and I. And so let us discuss what we expect to make sure that we have a new age of corruption-free governance. But Mr. Domelov, we are still in the honeymoon stage of this current president or government. So far, he has made some few decisions. Some appointments have come. Yes, how will you assess what he has done so far?
So far, so good, but it could be better. I was expecting that he was going to hit the road running. That is, by now, we will have known all our ministers designate. Because even when he was in opposition, he should have known who will be my defense, who will be my finance, who will be my this, etc. Especially when election occurred and results or the victory was won by the 8th of December. So I think he had almost a month to have chosen all those people, said that we would not have received only 3 names. But the 3 names put forward together already is good. You look at this guys and you say, we are in serious business. And some of the directives given also are very important. Some of them are not even in the public domain, but I am very much aware that there was instruction to the Treasury also to hold on with all payments. Until they clear, those which are urgent are cleared with the special person, maybe in the office of the president or whatever it is. Because there's a lot of looting which happened in the Treasury. I think you know I spent 18 years in control accounting. This is the looting period. This is the period that they write checks, sign contracts, backdating all of them into last year. You will see contracts, you will see documents which are coming October, November, October. All those documents are 2025 documents. They only backdate them. So if you don't close Treasury and make sure people are in place before you start doing things, there will be problem. I'm not saying that we close Treasury entirely, but urgent payments, get clearance, and they go through. So I think those are good. Oral, I think, is also a very good initiative. Personally, when I was called to join the oral, I was a bit skeptical. I said, we don't need it. Just let the institutions function.
That's true.
Then
a position we've always held.
Yes. Then I said, but if these institutions were functioning, we wouldn't have been where we are. So we need something to be done. And every day I sit on the oral committee, I get a justification for it. Especially today that we went to the sites to see the type of looting which is happening. You will not believe it. Your heart will bleed if you go to the agric mechanization, I think they call it, near to the airport.
Right, yeah.
If you go there and see, they just removed the roofing and left documents, machines. There's a combined harvester, I think brand new. In fact, the rubber has tier rubber. They have not even removed the rubber from the steer and etc. It's at the mercy of the weather. They left everything there. You will find vehicles, you will find value books, documents that they are all immediately erased. All of them will spoil, etc. You say, how do you do this? And then you find the land is being shared among the top hierarchy of this country. But I keep saying to my people,
no, but you see, it is really worrying. Why would anyone want to do such a thing? Because you see, at the end of it all, it is the taxpayer that suffers. There has been instances where I'm told that some vehicles have come into this country and they were never used. They were exposed, subjected to the mercies of the weather, and some are even rotten. Where lies the accountability in this country?
Yeah. Remember, I make a statement continuously and repeatedly that when there are no consequences for misbehavior, impunity strives. It strives everywhere. And that is the situation in Ghana. Why will you, for instance, use public funds or even your own money to buy a vehicle and just park it, say, I won't use it? Doesn't make sense. Why will we even build hospitals, build schools and abandon them and we will not use them? Who in his right mind will do that? But it's because we don't demand accountability. And I think that this is a good window for us to move away from that behavior. If not for anything at all, I expect His Excellency President Mahama to deviate from that practice, to say, look, you waste state resources, we come after you. And if you remember, I've also been saying something, that corruption, just as wasteful and fruitless spending, they all deny citizenry the benefit of public funds. So it's not only those who are stealing the money, but those who are wasting the money are equally bad. So we must try and do whatever it can to make it corruption-free.
The issue of corruption-free, and that takes us into the topic we are having. When the flyer started going around, the first comment that came from someone, a professor, was that I don't think we can ever have anything called corruption-free government. We may be able to minimize corruption, but if you talk of corruption-free governance, it is impossible as far as human beings are concerned. I don't know if you share the same perspective.
Yes and no. He's just trying to be pragmatic by saying that it will be almost impossible to eliminate corruption in its entirety. But we can bring corruption to a level where we may even not know it exists anymore. Okay? And I always say that when you are planning or you are targeting, you look for a perfect situation. You may not hit the perfect situation, but you don't plan putting in some slaps to say that, oh, as for me, I'm weak. So instead of running 20 kilometers per hour, let's aim at 5, so that if I do 6, I can pat myself on the back. Go back into the Constitution. Under the directive principles of state policy, it actually says that the state shall take steps to eradicate corruption. That's free, corruption-free. That's what the Constitution tells us. We have a Constitution which says, in fact, it's one of the directive principles.
So the Constitution mandates us.
Mandates that we must eradicate. That's the word used. Eradicate corruption and abuse of office.
That's right.
So that is the standard that we are working to. So we may not achieve it, but if we lower the standard, we may hit it and be laughing. Meanwhile, we have done nothing. So
Yeah.
I think corruption-free is still good. We aim at it. We may not reach there, but we must try as much as possible to go very close to corruption-free.
There are three angles in fighting corruption.
Yeah.
The laws,
Yeah.
the institutions, as in anti-corruption institutions, and most importantly, the will that comes from the leadership.
Yeah.
Because if you have the laws, you have the institutions, and you don't have leaders who are committed to it, you go nowhere.
Yeah.
Yesterday, His Excellency John Mahama went to a church and mentioned that one key thing that is going to drive the behaviors of his appointees has to do with accountability.
Yeah.
Now, if we are talking of corruption-free governance, we are looking at transparency, we are looking at accountability, we are looking at even whistleblowers protection and all that, public participation and all that.
Yeah.
In terms of accountability, linking it to what His Excellency John Mahama said, do you think that we have what it takes as a nation to ensure that individuals that we appoint to public offices are accountable the way they ought to be?
Yes and no. I must say, when we talk about the legal framework, we have a lot of laws.
That's right.
That if we go by them, I think we will have been doing very, very well.
That's right.
However, we still have work to do on our laws, especially in broadly defining what we call corruption and how to hold people accountable. I think that is very necessary. If we should take cue from some of our sister countries, just about a week ago, Ethiopia has passed a law on expropriation of unexplained wealth. And they have even backdated it 10 years. That over the past 10 years, if you have any resources or wealth which you can't explain where you get it from, then it becomes state property. We take it away from you. Some argue that their constitution, just like Ghanaian constitution, does not allow retroactive passing of, and they say corruption is sui generis. It is in its own territory.
That's right.
It's just for corruption, we can't tolerate it, no matter what we do. So we may have to look at our laws again, because today, where the onus of proving that somebody is corrupt is on prosecution, it's just too difficult for us to win the fight against corruption. So if you are able to establish that, Daniel, this water bottle is yours. However, given the salary that you earn, you can only buy this portion. But all these are for you. How did you go about it? Then the onus, once it's established that the resources are mine and the known sources of income cannot match what I have, then the onus should shift to me for me to prove that yes, this is what I did. I prayed to God and won lotto, and yes, the evidence of it, or my so and so passed on and inherited, and so and so, to prove how I arrive at it. If we don't do that, it will be a problem. So the law must be looked at. The institutions are also there, but they are not fit for purpose. We have too many anti-corruption agencies who have become defenders of public officers who are corrupt.
That's right.
It is a known fact, and I say it with that apology, that there is an institution like Yoko, which come after you if you are fighting corrupt officials. Instead of them fighting corruption, they fight people who are fighting corruption.
Yes, and that's true.
And I'm one of the victims.
That's true.
I find it so strange. And many times, you will be shocked to know that when I was in office as Auditor General, you will find these anti-graft agencies will rather go and take the books that you want to audit, so that you can't do the audit. Anytime they hear that there's going to be an audit of this place, they move in and seize the books that they are investigating the place. It came to a point where I served notice that we will go to court to find out whether your right of investigation overrides mine. Before there was a bit of sanity. So we have too many anti-corruption agencies. What am I talking about? The fact that we have so many of them, there is a turf war instead of them working together. So we don't have that. We create one agency, and this one should be departments. We should have them as departments of the same institution so that they can work together. It will also save us money.
That's right.
For instance, we have OSP. Look at how much was spent to build or to finance the building of the head office.
That's right.
If you have to build regional offices, that's multiplied by 16, maybe on a lower side, but multiply that by 16. And if we say districts, then we are finished.
That's true.
But if we combine them, there is already Yoko office in all the regions and the districts. So it means we just put in 1 or 2 staff and we are good to go. We will save a lot of money for. So the institutions may also have to be looked at. But the key one, which is the soft one, is ensuring that people don't get away with misbehavior. When the tone is at the top, telling you that, look, you can't get away with it. And anybody who crosses the line, irrespective of who you are, I'm telling you, corruption will be given a bloody nose, and this country will be a nice country. And I'm expecting that President Mahama, who has the history of putting his appointees who have been accused to the test, I think will do that on a large scale.
Now, in line with the institutions, are you also of the position, I am anyway, and not to impose my position on you, but there are others just like me that believe that we should decouple the Attorney General's department from the office of or the Ministry of Justice, so that they will have clear, separate jurisdictions. Individuals, one politically appointed, the other one not politically appointed, and we know that he is in fighting corruption or fighting all the terrible things happening in this country. I don't know whether you think, in line with the institutions that we talked about, if we decouple, it will strengthen the fight against corruption.
Thank you. Instead of creating OSP, that is what I thought we should have rather done. Say that we separate Attorney General. We have Attorney General just like the Auditor General, who is not under any political persuasion, etc. You think about an Attorney General who sits in cabinet advising his colleagues on a transaction which has gone the other way around. Will he come back and
you tell him to come and prosecute you?
Let me give you a very funny example. You remember when I was battling the issue with the senior minister or something? Yes, on Crow and Associates. And I was thinking that I should go and solicit help from the Attorney General. Then it occurred to me that, these guys are together in cabinet. If I go there, do I think Attorney General, he may rather push me under the truck. Then I examined the contract, and lo and behold, it was the Attorney General who witnessed the contract. And said, I've lost this.
So he was part of the whole process.
Yes, Gloria Kufu is the one who witnessed the contract. When I saw Gloria Kufu, I said, I will not go near there. Even though that may not stop her from doing something. But she's a human being.
That's right.
She's part of the process. So I seriously think if you have a separate Attorney General who has all these mandates, so this OSP and Yoko, etc., become something like a department under his office.
The argument
so that
been making,
there's a department to look at corruption issues. There's another one, money laundering and whatnot, etc., organized crime, etc. I think it will help the country. So he's not part of the government. So he doesn't sit in there. His job is to protect the interests of the country. I am all for that.
It is so funny how politicians in opposition professes things, and when they come to office, they do otherwise. This issue of decoupling, I started hearing of it right from 2007. 2007, the NDC in opposition talked about it. They came to office 2008. It got missing. 2012, 2016, the NPP in opposition talked about it. When they got into office, it vanished. We have a new government now. Indeed, I heard the current president talking about it on 1 or 2 platforms prior to the elections. And I'm hoping and believing that we'll be committed to that so that we do that. But you see, when we're able to do that, just like you've explained, it helps us to have a clear focus and know that, okay, this is an auditor, Attorney General, this is his mandate, this is the Minister of Justice, this is his mandate.
He's a politician.
He's a politician, and he can do all the political things that he wants to do. Truth be told, there were some instances where I actually, at a point, thought that Godfrey Odame was just a political communicator at a point. And it's not his fault. It's because of the position he was holding, So we really hope and believe that the new government will be confident enough to say that, look, over the past period, it has not been able to take place. But during my time, I am going to do that. Let's decouple these two. There's one other thing that which falls really in your domain or your jurisdiction, and that has to do with disallowance and surcharge. People have also made the argument that, look, if indeed we want to have corruption-free governance, then we should strengthen the Auditor General to implement to its latter the powers given to him to disallow and surcharge. First and foremost, when we talk of disallow and surcharge, what are we talking about?
Thank you. Before I come there, let me give some credit to the politicians.
Right.
You know, decoupling the Attorney General's office from the Minister of Justice is not that easy. You know, it's an entrenched clause.
Right.
That clause is entrenched. So to decouple it means going through all the processes including referendum and etc. So it's not that very easy. Now, when we come to disallowance and surcharge, what do we mean? What are we talking about? The Supreme Court helped us in Occupy Ghana versus Attorney General.
Right.
The Supreme Court defined disallowance, meaning Auditor General officially cancelling the expenditure or disapproving of an expenditure. Then they defined surcharge as recovering the money paid or the amount paid plus some addition, something to compensate for the economic value.
Right.
So it means if you took 10 million, we don't come and say bring back 10 million. They said that is refund. That is not surcharge. Surcharge is refund plus some penalty. Okay. So there must be a penalty. Okay. And unfortunately, they didn't tell us how the penalty should be
calculated. Yeah.
Yes. So then I was the Auditor General. So I said, okay, let me take it like this. What are we talking about? We are talking about public funds. Is that not it?
Right.
And you have taken public funds which you want to collect from you. I want to assume that you borrowed our public funds. So I use the lending rate of Bank of Ghana. So that's what I was using.
That's interesting.
I was using the lending rate of Bank of Ghana. Assuming you went to borrow money from Ghana, that is what you will have paid. So I use that one to accumulate the interest, and so that is the disallowance and surcharge. The view that Auditor General should be empowered to fully implement disallowance and surcharge. I don't know how, to what extent the Auditor General can be empowered again. The Auditor General is already empowered. To me, I find it as a refusal on the part of the current Auditor General to do the needful. Mind you, the Supreme Court, when they were talking about the Speaker of Parliament's case, they reminded the Speaker that if they interpret the Constitution and give directives and you did not comply with it, it was a high crime. Do you remember that?
That's true.
Good. Read Occupy Ghana versus Attorney General. The consequential orders, they instructed the Auditor General that anytime the Auditor General in the course of an audit chances upon an expenditure which is contrary to law, then the may becomes mandatory. He is under obligation to surcharge. So I just see the behavior of the Auditor General as disobedience to the Supreme Court. Anytime I'm reading his report, I am like, why would this guy write this? Many times he will write, so and so should recover, the MDS should recover. And the Supreme Court said that is your constitutional mandate. In fact, if you read that judgment, they said that that mandate is on a higher pedestal from what is stated in the Audit Service Act. So it must have its right of way. It is stated, that was the English of the judgment. Okay. So after the Supreme Court has said that you should go and hold people accountable and recover the money, the Auditor General will write that they should recover the money and pay it into Auditor General Recoveries account.
And that's all.
Which is also illegal anyway, because if you read Section 17 of the Audit Service Act, the Act says that the money should be paid into the account from which the money was taken. And the Auditor General has himself overruled the law and created an account into which he is collecting the money.
That's illegal.
Very illegal. Anytime I read those things, I'm like, is the Auditor General ready to face the law himself? Because he's breaching the laws by first not implementing the disallowance and the surcharge, and secondly, collecting the money into his account. I don't know the reason why he should open his account.
Is it his personal account or an account that belongs to the Auditor General's department? Okay,
this is an Auditor General's recovery account. So he has opened an account for to collect the money into the consolidated fund. But that's not what the law says. The law says if you surcharge a teacher, it goes to health, education. If it is a health worker,
a doctor, it goes to the health.
Into their account. So you don't collect the money. Mind you, Article 176 says all monies received for and on behalf of the government should be paid into the consolidated fund, except when a law allows you to pay it into another fund. So the Auditor General needs a law, but the Audit Service Act did not mandate the Auditor General to keep the money. He said pay it into the account from which the money was taken.
What can citizens do? Is there any avenue for us to say we are taking the Auditor General to court, knowing very well that he has breached these, how do we call it, laws?
Honestly, I think it is our duty as citizens to hold public officers accountable. And I don't think the Auditor General is above the law either.
Right.
So I think it is time for somebody to take on the Auditor General and say, look, you have not respected the directives given to you by the Supreme Court, so we should hold him accountable. And also, you have decided to disobey the law. Anyone who wants to look at it should look at Section 17 of the Audit Service Act. It says those money should go into the account of the institution or the department from which it was collected. So you don't, without amending the law, open your own account and say you have collected. I remember you reported they have collected about 11 point something million last year into the account, and I said this is also indiscipline, which should not be tolerated.
I mean, still on this, we are still talking about the institutions.
Yes.
There's one thing which is also of interest to me. Now that we've talked a bit on the Auditor General's place, the surcharge and the disallowance. The courts, they play a very important role in ensuring that we'll have a corruption-free governance. One of the policies that was found in the NDC manifesto says that we are going to create a special court to swiftly deal with cases of corruption against public officials and agencies. Do you think there's a need for that?
Yes and no. Again, I have to be a bit more controversial. Given the importance of corruption, I would say yes. We should get a dedicated court so that corruption cases can be heard expeditiously and dealt with on time. But you see, there's something funny I forgot to mention again during the swearing in of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. Maybe you didn't see the video. When the judges were leaving the place, people were hooting at them. I was shocked that these are Supreme Court judges. See, people were hooting at them. I don't know whether the message sank into their heads. It means their disappointment to Ghanaians. I was sad when I saw that, and some were wearing their wig and etc. You could see them through the window, and they were hooting at them. And I said, so the courts are also not fit for purpose. Most of the times you wonder whether they are there delivering justice or for their personal reasons or whatever it is. Do you know that currently, or as we speak, no, years ago actually, when I was even Auditor General, I wrote to the Chief Justice to say, can I have some special courts which will deal with disallowance and surcharge? And he actually nominated 4 courts. One in Accra, one I think in Takoradi, one in Kumasi, and I think one in Tamale. So only 4 courts to hear these cases. But to be honest with you, at times you go to these courts which have been dedicated, and you are like, this judge is a party activist. He's not a judge. You hear the judge's pronouncements, and you are like, oh my God. To the extent at times I was begging my lawyer that he should not be allowing me to come to the court, because one day I'll be in contempt. I'll just get up and speak my mind to the judge, and they may say I should go to prison. I don't care about that. But so we need attitudinal change in the judiciary. That's the point I'm trying to make. We can create separate courts, but those courts can also become problem to us. So we need to transform the judiciary to be fit for purpose. Currently, I don't think a lot of, I'm not saying all of them. There are fantastic guys in there, but many of them are just doing something else.
What it then means is that, yes, I'm happy you mentioned yes and no. So it means that, yes, to some extent, we may need a court, a special court. But the truth is, even creating a special court, if you don't have attitudinal change, it will end up becoming the same old thing. Exactly. And so if that is the thing, why then don't we find a way of focusing on attitudinal change to reform the existing courts? Yeah. Would that be possible?
Yes, that is possible, because you see, we don't need that attitudinal change only for corruption. For every case. If you and me are litigating on land, justice must be delivered. If you are fighting any other crime, justice must be delivered. I think we need the courts. In fact, the court is actually what gives stability to every country. People will not fight because they know we can go there and get justice. But when people start doubting the courts, it's a problem. So I think we need the Chief Justice and his team, or the what do you call it, the legal counsel, or whatever it is, to have a second look at the judiciary and make sure that there is attitudinal change. Some of the cases, they'll give you Pyrrhic victory, like mine. They wait till when you
after
go,
it becomes irrelevant.
They give you something called a Pyrrhic victory, a victory which is useless. We don't do that. Meanwhile, they have been saying, I'm not a judge, I'm not a lawyer, but I've heard this mantra: justice delayed is justice denied. But they delay people's justice and deny them.
What's veering off a little? Everyone talks about attitudinal change.
Yes.
But it is always difficult for us to say we are achieving that. How does it start? Where do we start? And how do we achieve that?
It is still because we have leadership crisis. Attitudes and systems are put in place by leaders. If you have a good leader, if you have a transformation leader, if you have a visionary leader, a leader who actually is seeking the interest of the people, he makes sure that people behave in a certain way. He makes sure that some values are respected across session. Because if the entire government changes, the judiciary has no option than to change.
That's true.
Assuming that we have the Ghana police, all the prosecutors, etc., doing their work very well, it will be very difficult for the judge to do otherwise.
That's true.
Okay? So it is all leadership deficiency. And I've always said that most of the corruption problems we have is because we don't have leadership, and leadership put in place systems. And we don't have systems. That's why we have those type of things. Small things like we say, oh, the police collect bribe on the way and etc. Go to even African countries like Malawi, poorer than us. Yeah. The police doesn't collect bribe on the roadside. Why? Because everybody knows the fine for overspeeding and overtaking and crossing the red light. They publish it in the newspapers and it is on TV. So you know the rate. So immediately you cross the red light, you know you are supposed to pay 20 Ghana. You give it to him and ask your receipt for your receipt, and you move on. No bribe. But in Ghana, now negotiation. you have to negotiate, and
we've all become experts in negotiation.
And you don't have time for that.
Exactly.
So at the end of the day, you have to part with something so that you can have your way. So we need systems to be in place to check some of these things.
One of the systems, which again is of interest to you, it has always been of interest to me, has to do with the procurement, public procurement. You see, I have said, and you agree with me, that most, if not all, of the corruption that we record can be found in the procurement process and the procurement system. Do we need a new procurement regime?
Yes. I think the procurement process, or the regime that we have currently, is not fit for purpose on several grounds. One, governance.
Right.
Look at the people sitting on the Public Procurement Board. People wonder why they get approval for single source from government easily. You know, the people sitting there, I think about 3 of them are appointed by the Minister of Finance.
Exactly.
And Attorney General's deputy is there. In fact, Godfred Odami was sitting on the Public Procurement Board when he was Deputy Attorney General. When he became the Attorney General, his deputy, Madam Diana something, was now representing there. So there's a Deputy Attorney General there, Minister of Finance, and mind you, the Chief Executive and all of them, they are all appointed by the President.
Appointments, yeah.
So when the Chief of Staff write them and say that, give single source to Mr. Emmanuel Wilson.
Who are you to say no?
Who are you to say no? So even though the grounds for giving that approval have not even come up, they grant it. So I think we have to have a second look at the procurement law again. And even on the constitutional, independent constitutional bodies and some of the procurement entities, still we have members of parliament and attorney general represented there.
Right.
And I asked them, if you join me and we do the misprocurement, will you be able to prosecute myself and yourself together? So we have to look at some of these things. But let me be quick also to say that some of the checks and balances which are in the procurement law, personally, I don't agree with them.
Okay.
Even though people think that is what will give us value for money. I think the understanding of value for money is too narrow, usually from procurement point of view. What am I saying? For instance, if you today want to buy goods in a government institution worth more than 10 million Ghana cedis, which is about $700,000,
right,
you have to do international competitive bidding. So what kind of rule is that? And once you are doing international competitive bidding, mind you, it means Nigerian firms, South African firms, etc., will compete with Ghanaians.
That's true.
Most of them have export promotion, so they give them subsidy to come and compete.
From their government.
Yes, and the Ghanaian has nothing like that. People will tell you, procurement people will tell you there's something they call margin of preference. Yes, but the margin of preference, you state it in the procurement document, that if you're a Ghanaian firm, you have a margin of preference of maybe 15 or 10%, which means that if you are 10% lower, you are still okay. So they take that and give to their government. And the Chinese government may say, okay, I'll give you 60% support. So the Chinese firm will quote at a rate which the Ghanaian doesn't come anywhere near. So I think we must have a second look at it. Why am I saying that, my brother? The truth of the matter is that procurement is a major tool for job creation in the country. Can you imagine the procurement of vehicles that have been happening all these years? Government has directed its mind to say, let's try and assemble those vehicles in Ghana. And we will procure only made in Ghana vehicles for the MDAs, the police, the military, etc. They are only the number of factories we will have had today employing our staff. Plenty. Let's assume that procurement is said that Ghana says that we are going to buy chicken, rice, etc. for our schools, hospitals, all from Ghana or Ghanaian companies. It will have created a lot of entrepreneurs in the country. So when you are procuring, say that you are exporting jobs, and you talk about value for money, so you buy this at a reduced price of maybe 10 cedis, as a result of which your youth are on the street, and you call it value for money, I find it nonsense. That is one aspect. Then as Auditor General, I've also seen that even though we go through those processes and say we are getting value for money, the procurement itself is not even needed. When the financial year is coming to an end and the MDAs, they have their budget, they have to blow it. Because they say that if you don't finish it, Minister of Finance will cut your budget for the next year. So once the year is coming to an end, they buy anything at all. So what you see, which is the vehicles and maybe other things, is as a result of which something they don't need. They just spend government money because if we don't spend that money, next year we will not get it. We may have to move away from that and first ask the question, do you first and foremost need water? That's the first question. If you need water, then at what price do we buy it so that it can create job in Ghana? We don't buy water such that we are buying, very soon if we don't take time, we will find companies from outside supplying us with water. I don't know if it has already started because I've seen some foreign waters on our this. Water, we can't process it. We can't process a toothpick. We can't process some basic things. And our youth are on the street. So this is some of the things I think we have to go back and have a second look at public procurement, because government is the biggest spender in the economy. If government spends its money strategically, it can create jobs in the country. Even if it means paying $1 or $2 more. So to create job in Ghana, it makes more sense than to be exporting the jobs in the name of value for money. At the end of the day, actually, if you look at value for money in a holistic manner, there is usually no value for money. All that we are trying to say is that we bought it at a cheaper price. That is not the point. Cheaper price as a result of which your children are unemployed. Cheaper price for something you don't even need. So I think we need to have a second look at public procurement and ensure that whatever we procure is going to help the growth of the economy, create jobs, create if government is interested in any local product, we must have to try and see how we do it so that we can go. Many countries have done it.
If you have the opportunity now to propose just one thing that you want or you want to see changed in the current procurement process that we have or regime that we have, what will it be?
I will try and remove most of the powers and the composition of the Public Procurement Authority. They have become accomplices in almost all the procurement that we do. Many times the people talk about the approval. I said, this is not approval. These guys are conniving to do the wrong thing. So one thing we have to do is to ensure that we have a governance body, which rather help to drive procurement so that it helps the nation, instead of giving approvals where there is no need for. Companies that have been established a day before the procurement, they get approval.
That's true.
And you see some situations, even the approval, you don't know why they will have to give such approval because the amounts are ridiculous. And it goes through. If you look at the Osafumafu's case that I showed you, there was an approval from Public Procurement Authority. One of the consultants, the lead consultant, was getting an hour, more than $700 an hour. An hour, 1 hour. Wow. I think it's $720 or $750 an hour. So if you works 10 hours in a day, he's going home with more than $7,000 in a day.
Taxpayers' money?
Ghanaian taxpayers' money. That is the money I was going after. And the court, the High Court and the Supreme Court did, yes, I'm telling you.
$7,000.
It has not occurred to you. If you see the approval that they gave, and that approval, even interestingly, was given to Honorable Kandapa, Ministry of National Security, not Senior Minister. So I was asking, since when did National Security and Senior Minister's Office become one? Can GES, Education Service, take approval from Health and go and use it at Education? These are separate entities. So, and all these were swept away by the judge. Wow. The judge didn't look at it, and I don't fault her. Maybe she was doing her work. But I find it very interesting to note later that the judge herself and all the two lawyers of defending Osafumafu, etc., they are all now Court of Appeal judges. Wow. They've all been promoted. They are all now in Court of Appeal. So whether it was coincidence
oh my
or not,
goodness.
I don't know.
I doubt if this is coincidence. I really doubt if this is coincidence. Mr. Domelov, I'll come back to you. Just take a little break, and you want to take water if you may. I'll go through some of the messages that have come, and then we'll come back and we'll talk a bit more about civil society organizations' role, and then we'll call it a night. So these are some of the messages that have come in from you, my cherished viewers and listeners. This one says, good evening, Mr. Wilson. My name is Suleiman Ilyasu. I just want to tell Ghanaians that we see the good leadership of Mahama. 6 days in office is better than Akufo-Addo's 8 years in power. Yes, Mahama is the savior of Ghana. Thank you. Thank you. Please tell... Okay, so let's give respect to those that respect are due to. He's a president. So please tell His Excellency Mahama that he should do something about the constitution issue. Amend it so that he can live the 80 years. What? Thank you. I'm Victor from... Victor, I don't really understand, but thank you. Hello, Mr. Wilson. I want President Mahama to expose all or most of the evil deeds of the Akufo-Addo-induced MPP. Get back the stolen money and put those criminals in jail. He should ensure his officials do not engage in any form of corruption. This is James from Kojo Krom. Mr. Wilson, the Burkinabe leader built and commissioned a new tomato canning factory a week before our elections. And guess what? He used $12 million for such a project. That is the same amount of money Ghana's Akufo-Addo and His Excellency Bawumia used as fees for feasibility studies on a non-existing dam at Pualugu. That's one of the reasons for the applause he received. Thank you. I think that makes a lot of sense, you know. For this satisfied, aka COVID levy, the e-levy is neither a direct tax, indirect tax, or an excise tax. I don't even know how to clarify the e-levy as a tax practitioner. It doesn't mean that I do not recognize that the e-levy brings in certain revenues, but the fact remains the e-levy retards our progress towards a cashless economy. If approved, as part of the first budget, I will be privileged to announce the abolishment of the e-levy from step down, Ejumaku Bisiase. Did you say you will approve it, disapprove it when you approve? Okay, I'm not getting you very well, but thank you. Mr. Wilson, my name is RY, watching live from Ashaman. Your program is really educative. I think President Mahamad's government should have ex-President Akufo-Addo account freezed for further investigation. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Wilson. Please, my name is Nuruddin from Techiman. I want to know as they are going, what they are going to do about the Techiman South, because that seat is for NDC. Please, 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 we need our seat. Okay. I'll ask Mr. Domelov. Good evening, Mr. Wilson. I don't, whenever I hear or see this man, Mr. Daniel, I feel like he is my heart. In fact, I like him so much. From Fuseni, Offenso, and Hinkro in Ashanti region. Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Wilson. The judiciary has been compromised under former President Akufo-Addo and Bawumia government. Can Mr. Domelov be appointed as Auditor General again? I'm Ekuamwa Christian from Odome Chala in the Oti region of Ghana. Good evening, my panelists. Democracy without fair hearing or judgment. Freedom of speech, freedom of the demonstration, but only full of arrogance, selfish. Okay, Gazari, thank you from Ashanti Bekwai. Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Wilson. Mr. Domelov should be employed on contract by the NDC government as the State Auditor General for 3 years to sanitize government expenditure and audit all state and public institutions. Okay, you didn't add your name. Good evening, Mr. Wilson. Politics and beyond is a perspective Ghana should be looking for. If JM needs concentration to work, people like Minority Leader and his group must shut up their ideas and nagging. JM said he is going to cancel license exams. I hate 54, twice less of 6% to be qualified. Oh, I hate 54%, twice less of 6%. To be qualified in medical lab. I decided to quit and do other things because I don't even trust the exam council. Is there an avenue to share an innovation idea to help maintain the free SHS? Simon from Tamale. Yes, Simon, so you can continue engaging us with your ideas on the same platform and we'll get back to you if the need be. This one says, Gatuso Mampon Asante. Please, we need the oral team to work hard without favor. Please, Mr. Domelov, anybody who has stolen state money, state lands, please prosecute him or her. And that will serve as as a scapegoat for each and everyone. Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Wilson. Tell me, who checks the judges? Who punishes the Supreme Court judge? I want to suggest that if any Supreme Court judge is found misbehaving, she or he must be called to live cast TV and be interrogated by a panel of a people teacher, a student, and 3 other persons. Wow, that's an interesting one. Tommy, thank you so much. Mr. Wilson, please, I wish the issue on corruption should also affect food sellers, farmers, fruit retailers who are using chemicals to pollute fruits. Consumers eat, which are delicious. All right, thank you so much. I'm trying to really get it flow, but my name is Simon Dokpo, also known as MP for Baglo Buem Oti region. All institutions in Ghana need special house cleaning exercise, especially judiciary, so there should be trust in the system. Politics and beyond is a place. Okay, I've read this one already. Okay, the messages keep coming. Thank you so much. I'll come back to the message if I get a chance. But Mr. Domelov, back to you. We've talked about the institutions. We've talked about the laws. We've also talked somehow about the leadership, the leaders. There's one other aspect, and that has to do with civil society organizations. what role do they need to play in ensuring that, you know, these institutions that are state institutions are really working towards a corruption-free governance?
Thank you very much. This civil society, I see them as the voice of the voiceless. Excuse me to say that they are quite knowledgeable about issues in the society, and a lot of them are very knowledgeable also about governance. So they play the role of holding public officers accountable. And I think they must be given their full place in every administration. The thinking that because I'm a minister, because I'm a Auditor General, because I'm an Attorney General, because I'm a Chief Justice, I know it all. It doesn't hold anywhere. At times, the people down there, what they know, you have no idea. So they are an interface between the society and government, and I think I will wish that His Excellency creates an avenue of bringing them on board in each institution. When I was Auditor General, I was meeting with the CSOs involved in corruption. Because I wanted to hear their perspective of what I was doing. And I think some of the ideas that came from them were fantastically good. So we should have a discussion. And I must also say there's another group of people that we have ignored so much, and it bleeds my heart. One of those groups is the internal auditors. Internal auditors, especially in the public sector. Yes, we can have a very effective external auditor who brings about deterrence to abuse of public funds. But you see, internal auditors sit in there with the institutions. And I describe them as physicians. Instead of external auditors who come in like pathologists after the person has died. So they will tell you that this is what killed him, but the person has died anyway. So we need a physician. We need internal audit which is independent and well-resourced so that they can do their thing. And the bill has been lying on the table of government for all these years. And I think NDC promised passing it. I think it should be one of the things which should happen within the 120, is it 120 days of
120 days.
You should pass that bill and give the independence to the internal auditors so that we can preempt the wastage.
That's right.
Another group of people which we have not talked about very much in this country, to me, is the researchers, the universities. This is a body of people who are doing research every day. We don't use them. I wish that the government should engage the universities or the tertiary institutions or the research institutions in almost everything they are going to do. Well, how come that we construct roads less than a year and the roads are cracking? Can't there be any research into what we need to do so that we can have a road which lasts for a longer time? Our terrains are even far better than what we see in Europe, is that not it?
That's right.
You go to Netherlands, the roads are going underwater and swampy, but the roads are good. So can't we research into it? We need food every day. Who is researching into the type of food we should be eating to be healthy and alive? So government should work closely with these researchers. We should not leave academia alone. In fact, what pains me that we even pay their bills. So we should use them.
We should benefit from them.
Thank you. So my friend, let us see how do we do this and use them as consultants maybe to crack that ideas. So if we can look at all these people, you see, governance is a collective game. It is not a game of I alone can do it. No. So engage all sorts of people, and if we can empower internal audit and bring in our researchers and the anti-corruption agencies, I think we will be saving a lot of resources which will be used to develop. But a last one, as we look at all these things, the governance arrangement of every country is also a service delivery structure. I don't think the public service is well structured. There are duplications and overlaps and gaps and etc. over there. And you see the fiscal decentralization of Ghana. When we talk about fiscal decentralization, people will not understand. The money, the purse, is shared only within 2 kilometers of Accra. The money is from Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Agri, Ministry of Health, but the needs of Ghana are in a front place, in Boku, etc. So we should share the budget. I'm living and praying that a day will come where we will see what we call composite budgeting, where the district budget contains education, health, road, all of the things needed in the district are in the district budget.
Right.
Then these come together to form the regional budget, together with the regional institutions. So in the budget, you will see regional budget, district budget. So you know how much is going to Sevilla, so how much is going to this. Now nobody even knows how much total resources government is giving to anybody. How do we start accountability? When we talk about accountability, it starts with knowing first how much resources we are given to. And in fiscal management, there's a concept we talk about, FFF.
Okay.
Funds follow function. It is where the function is. That's where we put money. You can't put money in the ministries when the schools are in the districts and the regions. You don't put money in the ministry when the hospitals are over there. I asked a friend of mine who was a minister of, what do you call it, health. How many hospitals do you have in the ministry here? And you will say, oh, Ghana, we have so many. I said, no.
How many?
I said, how many in your ministry here? Here. He said, but you don't have hospitals here. So I said, why are you keeping the hospitals' money?
That's right.
Send the money to the regions and the districts where the money is needed so that it can be put to good use.
Sure.
So we need to restructure and reduce the middle. You see, the weight is too much. Again, to be very honest with you, I personally disagree with creating 16 regions out of Ghana. Ghana is such a small country. In fact, we are smaller than one county or state in some countries.
That's true.
We are so small.
Lagos is bigger.
Thank you. So creating 16 regional ministers and now maybe be looking for deputies, then coordinating director. Each of these is Land Cruiser business. Land Cruiser and government house and etc. It's wasteful.
That's true.
We should bring, we should concentrate on the districts.
Yeah.
Even the districts are too many, 260 something. But I think if we have about 60 to about 100 districts, then maybe a few regions, it will reduce government spending so that the money can be used in providing social interventions. Right. We need more industries, we need more schools, we need more hospitals, not land cruisers.
That's true. That's true. Mr. Domelov, all too soon our time is up, but
John Dramani Mahama was sworn in as the president of the Republic of Ghana. But I stand to be corrected, though. But for the first time in the history of our republic, 21 heads of states and a buyer and about
South Africans and there were the East African community, East African states.
Okay.
And there were the ECOWAS.
Okay.
And there were the SADC, that is the Southern African states.
Oh, okay.
And there were the Central African republics.
Yes.
And Sana, there were the seed region of the Africa, and here the African Union Diaspora Forum, which is seen as also a region.
I see.
On the African continent.
I see.
Now, African Union meaning the number of countries are so the African Union might have come with about 6 or 7 or 8 delegations, and willingly per the country, willingly per the president in our urban country, the love, the friendship or what might be a Ghana, all the friendship or need the incoming president in the war. So in this case, President Mahama had been a president of Republic of Ghana before.
Yes.
He has been 6 years president, more or less, and then now coming back, our friends, our government, and our friends, our share, your former president's baby.
Yes, Olusegun Obasanjo baby, good luck, Jonathan.
Exactly, Olusegun, any Jonathan. A best friend of
and I think Jacob Zuma is also a buyer.
Yes. So that is the case. In the African Union, they don't call for buy. Central Africa don't call for buy. And then ECOWAS also represented as ECOWAS bloc. Or represented as ECOWAS bloc, some countries AB will be chosen by the ECOWAS community. Says our countries we more represented, now attended Ghana swearing in ceremony.
Okay.
Besides that, your presidents be a ha. The friend of President Mahama. So they decided to come. If even they were not part.
I see.
And the invitation, those ones that comes from the bloc, and those ones that come from the personal invitation of His Excellency President Mahama.
I see.
SADC, South Africa, Zimbabwe, Namibia, Mozambique, Angola, and then Zambia, Lesotho, and then also Swatini, and those countries. Omunina SADC community in Susono, Emma SADC represent here. But then the president that came, some came as a result and as at the instance of SADC. But some of them also came at the instance of the president-elect himself.
I see.
Central Africa, the same thing.
I see.
Now, the interesting scenario, presidents in a Bayern, some of them did not come because Ghana as a country also would invite.
Yes.
But then when Ghana invites her, up to the receiving countries, so Ombaba and now Onomba. Into blocks, you know, Ayom introduction, the African Union introduction. You know. The country Ghana would also send invitation.
Okay.
Na ebi baba ebi ma. But generally what I saw and what I've known and what I noticed was that good number of the guys, President Somba, they were presidents, they were friends of the president.
The president. I see.
Elect.
I see.
And some of the invitations, you know, were invitations originated, listen to me once again, by the president-elect and his team, not the country Republic of Ghana, in the case of Goodluck.
Oh, I see.
Goodluck, a former president. There's a sitting Nigerian president,
yes.
So he couldn't have been, but he's a statesman.
Yes.
Olusegun Obasanjo, he would have maybe on an African states, maybe an African Union, and then but on his own, so by at the instance of the invitation from the president-elect.
But isn't it also surprising to see a coup d'etat president and as a military officer, in the case of Burkina Faso, so ultimately attended a fashion like this?
What is wrong with that?
Well, I mean, so why are you cool? He's not an elected president.
Why are you cool? Okay, stand there. You want to go to school?
Yes, I mean, why not?
He's a head of state.
Yes.
Head of state, former, informer. Either coup or elected. He represents a certain country called Burkina Faso.
Yes, sure.
As a head of state.
Yes. Yes.
So, why was he invited? Ono, Pediasi Declaration 1, Declaration 2, Declaration 3. His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and the Ghana and the ECOWAS. Declarations of Pediasi 1 and 2 and are turning the table of Burkina Faso. Say Omunka African Union, ECOWAS Hubium.
I see.
Oma suspend you. Right?
Yes.
The Declaration 1 not suspended Dumboya.
Yes.
Of Guinea.
Yes.
And the Declaration 2 suspended Assimi Goïta of Mali. And the 3 suspended Damiba.
Okay.
For Henry Santiago Damiba, Burkina Faso.
Yes.
On the name Captain Traoré.
Yeah.
But then Captain Traoré ni Damibano, you can't call it that a coup d'etat. It was a change of regime.
Okay.
A palace coup.
Okay.
The boss no. And on any coup. And the coup the two Kabori. The two Kabori no.
And on those two.
The two Kabori no. The junta's mission was that ye caught near mercenaries. Ye caught near you for Akokun, Al-Qaeda, ISIS, and Sawad and Sadin. All the rebels and the terrorist group are all pretty Burkina. But omnia power new took Kabori ma Kabori Johnny Yeno. And for Henry Santiago Damiba, the ideals and philosophy ideologies are the kuno. Na undi so he was turning back to the French.
Oh, I see.
To behave the same way like Kabori was doing. So the boy also had a formation. Ibiasida, SMC1, SMC2, which is Kutu a champion, and then FWK a Kufu.
Yeah.
Do you understand me?
Yes.
It was something like that. Now, what I say, I didn't coup d'etat. Your friend is a coup d'etat leader, and I said,
yes.
Why military regime. Let me put it on records, and I've heard one of the reasons God may firm and the normal circumstances. You know,
yeah, sure.
Once throughout the electioneering year, I don't grant interviews. I try to stay neutral in some cases, but I think too much pollution in the air, so we must set it straight.
The record
we must set a lot of records straight in this particular studio.
Yes.
Weapon.
Yeah.
The same seat. That is why I decided to come here and set this record straight, and that is how it is.
Okay.
The United Nations of the congregation have 178 countries. is the International Democratic Forum, congregation of all democratic governments and the governments of the world, with Secretary General of the UN, our Tiho. How many of the African leaders in the 80s, in the 90s, we had as many as almost 24 African leaders who were all wearing military uniforms into the UN General Assembly chamber.
Wow.
Jerry Rawlings, back to back, 19-year rule, or UN General Assembly with uniform 11 years. Sani Abacha, or UN General Assembly with military uniform. Obasanjo, or UN General Assembly all throughout his government until say Buhari ni Idiagbon too, no, they were also going to the UN General Assembly.
Yeah, sure.
Now, Nigeria, Abacha, Olusegun Obasanjo, Buhari, Omunyina no mko UN General Assembly. What about Habre? What about Lassana Conte? What about Lamizana?
Yes.
Chad, Niger, Burkina Faso had a military leader who was Blaise Compaoré. Or UN General Assembly for how many times? At that time, Sierra Leone, Valentine Srasa, 25 years, with Saj Musa, 23 years. They were going to UN General Assembly with military uniform. John Jerry Rawlings went with military uniform.
Yeah.
Sierra Leone had a military leader. Guinea had a military leader. Guinea-Bissau, they had military leader. Omar Bashir, Central African Republic, Bongi. All this at that time, Obiako UN General Assembly, plus what about the Latin Americans? What about the Caribbeans? Cuba, Fidel Castro, almost or UN General Assembly without, with any suit, or with military uniform. The observer to the UN General Assembly, yes, Arafat, or the uniform, and called uniform, the Vice Clinton, White House. Back to back military uniform.
I see.
There is nowhere all those professors and then lecturers, security experts, no say, were a democratic president and didn't know the military. No country we in our governance system. How many military leaders have ruled this country longer than democratic?
Yes, absolutely.
Yet Ghana every time is one of the countries in Africa that spoke on the UN podium with a military uniform. So it is not a crime, it is not bad that the gentleman came here with his uniform. Ogel, Ogel of Gabon,
yes, Gabon,
he decided to wear. Ogel did not come because he was from Central Africa. Ogel came because he's a friend, coach me, of President Mahama. So at the instance of the president, he came.
I see.
Don't forget, I have coordinated with Osei J of Ministry of Foreign Affairs, former Foreign Minister, when His Excellency Nando Dankwa was sworn in 7th January. The same way, I stood in as the liaison officer coordinating for the Republic of Ghana. And then Osei J stood in for Ghana. We received him, the president. There are a lot of things we don't have time. So now let's come back to why Traore's issue had become an issue.
Yes.
Ebi said, Ukra Gan.
Yes, on the two questions.
What are we talking about here? We're talking about people are reading regular security intelligence. About your cyber security near here. We are talking about diplomatic security. Diplomacy has its own intelligence. Diplomacy has its own security. And I'm putting on record. Diplomacy is not about anybody's social illustrations. It's not about anybody's intelligence. It's not about anybody's assumption. It's not about anybody's presumptions. And it's not about anybody's feelings. Diplomacy is a principle. Diplomacy is a standard. Diplomacy deals with objectivity. Diplomacy deals with subjectivity.
It deals with objectivity and subjectivity.
So you must be subjective, a topical subject. And you must be an objective. That this is it. This object.
I see.
Yes. And it goes not with anybody's feelings. So what we saw, and it said, 6 January 2025, 11:59 p.m., Ghana Air swear in new parliament. His Excellency Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the regime comes to an end soon as the parliament of his republic, of his government is dissolved.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes, sure.
So 11 p.m., 59 p.m., who mounts into the podium? The Ghana presidency goes back to the Chief Justice. Because parliament is to dissolve.
No speaker.
No speaker.
Yes.
So within an hour, President of the Republic of Ghana, interim, at that time, Chief Justice. Chief Justice moved to be a president of Ghana until 1 hour or 1.5 hours. In between that time, no, office clerk, the clerk of the parliament, induction, roll call, and mentioning of the incoming
members of
parliament, swearing in those who are going to swear in on the 9th. Chief Justice, you know, never swear parliamentarians in the speaker.
Yeah, sure.
So between that time, no, Ghana president, Chief Justice,
okay,
or swear in Speaker of Parliament, around 12:1 thereabout. I stand to be corrected on the time, but around 1:13. Ghana president goes back to Abang Gbagwin.
Yes, yes.
So Abang Gbagwin at that time becomes the Ghana president. From that time until 12:30 p.m. or 11:30 p.m. or 11 p.m. Sorry, a.m. Kopim say you best a new president.
Okay.
So that is the catch. Burkina Faso the guy, 36-year-old boy, he's super intelligent. Who are the people sitting there? Tinubu was there.
Yeah, Tinubu was there, yeah.
ECOWAS has declared him not a member. They later wanted to warm themselves to him diplomatically. Wama Antiase, Oma Formu Sahel, into Adane Hoso. If the guy had come to Ghana around 11:52 p.m. on the seat, Nanajo can cage him in. I'm not saying that he was going to do that. But his security, they can withdraw and expose him to his enemies.
Oh, I see.
So he's not stupid.
I see.
He was not a friend of Ghana. He's a neighbor of Ghana.
Yeah.
But because ECOWAS declaration to reject him and move his country out of ECOWAS was originated from Accra. So he sees Ghana.
I know the meetings on me and Wahado Muslim.
Peduasi 1, 2, 3.
Oh, I see.
And the guy is not stupid.
Interesting.
And to make it sure, say, the presidency was not in the hands of His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. I'm not saying, say, Nana Beyeni Bibi, but we're talking about a trust, faith, and salvation.
Interesting.
Interesting. So I'm inside. What time did he come? Go and check.
Yeah, I remember because as at 7th in the morning, Namibisa omo protocols they said say afe na Burkina Faso president Eba.
So let me take you and the public through. In the time na Obamuno, Gabon leader and Obabe died.
Yeah.
He didn't have any problem.
Yeah, sure.
But when no time na Obamuno, one, there's what is called diplomatic protocol of a visiting head of state or visiting president. I want a security experts no ma bon no person besia.
Yeah, security experts.
So from someone when I'm interview ma bon no person besia say so we invite president head of state no aba bia your friend be diplomatic protocols.
Okay.
Security protocols. Entry protocols.
Okay.
And he said the who host you no and no oba no or the checklist.
Okay. Okay.
The diplomatic checklist of the visit, and he said, may the head of state, head of the delegation, head of state, in this case, Captain Traore, may the 19 soldiers armed, weapon carrying, a trainer de the AK-47 4, yeah, the Brent 5, yeah, the Kafenikov 8, pistols, assault rifles, etc. 9.
I see.
And Nipa 13 and the Beshe military uniform, Ekura guns.
In the bag or exposed?
Exposed.
Oh, I see.
Send the protocols or the abanono.
Yes.
Then the team, the government or the president-elect that is hosting him, also saw your validation.
Okay.
Now, no, national security. And for that matter, a military, you deal with the Air Force. You deal with near with a flight ban or deba. Or some the commercial jet, but in the case of the Burkina guy, cleverly, or the military jet nearby. So the military jet nearby, on team packet our commercial side.
Okay.
And so the flight in BC Air Force.
Oh.
Now Air Force was kind of flight, no actual say once he's out of the aircraft obeja 10 or 15 military men manning or guiding the aircraft. No ma drop one more flight no. Pilot no and then the co-pilot and then the air hostess omusia cabin crew fonisia straight away to hotel. Then the military take over with the Ghana military. No more did that flight. Na Burkina Faso oba ne shy krano. Ni trade and chain. Or chef flights no kopim send the president beba. Now, or your military leader and in the protocols no Ghana Army or Air Force have to make sure his security. President Mahama, His Excellency, has been a president. When your protocols or the beba breast on your TV say he has shared with them. And he knows.
Yeah.
So the transitioning team might not know, but the president knows. Now, or say, I'll go through principal streets of Accra Airport, direct route. You don't just get up and say, "Oh, then
sure.
So your advanced protocol, motorcade, obedi car scanning up to the Independence Square, and make sure say Trotrobian says you can so. Burkina Faso leader is spending 12 minutes from the Air Force. Opiano, ebi a wanko VVIP long.
I don't know your Ghana security.
Ghana security ni ono na
bag security. Okay.
Ono be chiro.
Oh, okay.
Into our unko babia straight away Oba Independence Square.
Oh.
Now that is how he's going to enter. Oba, and as he did, Oba V-shaped security. Oh, na ohwe betu an hu de wo kire. V-shaped security ohwe ya.
Oh, me fa badwa baso.
Our soldiers bear 5, 6, 7 over her.
Yes.
Or bear 6, 7 over her.
Yes.
Obia with weapon.
Yes.
What I said.
Yes.
Then he blocked the V at the back. No, abedi mfimfini, so he's the arrow man. And he had decided not to drop the car. Baby, our president,
Yeah, that's true.
Yes.
That's true.
Did he do
that's
that?
True. Yeah.
Yes. It's part of his protocol.
Yes.
Into Oba walk 100 meters or 150 meters, so they can have clarity.
Interesting.
Why? Because our enemies.
Yeah.
ECOWAS enemy. Tinubu your enemy. Why? Because Tinubu French, pro-French.
Interesting.
His Excellency Nanado, pro-French, but only they know any picture anymore. It does not mean that we are afraid. Say obi betima be che no. Say the enya security officers ni biaka say expert one be say adentina ukuratu adentina oyeden. One, and the public should notice. It could have been say on a Republic of Ghana government, not Ghana government, President Mahama. I agree. And they have scanned them say tuen kura toy guns. But there is what is called presidential signature, and there's what is called presidential brand.
Okay.
What makes Traore, his brand of dress, his coat of dress, his signature of dress. Wama President Mahama say any security couple no manage president say or the person bebo no ho. Me no me ni ankoyesa person could be a third person.
You need to mean
and I'm say person no cry bibia ni ammunition.
Sure.
But to send a signal that this is the way I go to places. President Pacho Minu better measure hand gloves. Minu measure hand gloves. Meba, this is the way I'm entering into the podium. Other presidency in our track anymore.
Yes, the other side.
Over the other side. The security protocol.
Yes.
And why any V-shaped entry. It is done by KGB.
I see.
To monitor and to guide Putin.
It's not your fans analogy.
No.
Interesting.
It is done by Israeli Mossad.
Wow.
Israel Prime Minister acquired Israel for a V-shape plus. Not Prime Minister initiative. Where covered or way budget. Now these are special forces are only snipers.
Okay.
They didn't come and joke. Aunt now Emma Burkina, a country from almost day one of independence 1960. Oma you coup d'etat, go and check Burkina democratic elected presidents.
Sure.
Oma you could become you coup 2 days. Obia a head of state 2 days, a 10 days, a 17 days. And to him say, now, before so Babana there been a coup. And when him say, Damiba, at Togo Heya. And they could harm him whilst he's coming or whilst he's leaving, not on the podium of the distance. And President had agreed with him, say, yes, Oba, Bra,
Okay.
Protocols on President Mama Nina Delia.
Oh, okay.
And in Pacho, the public listening.
Wow.
President Mama is not ordered by any law. Sir, on Kancho be said, say no any Burkina Faso leader neighbor. He's aware already what the boy is coming. Obacha say will true right. Obaba Baku left, and Abaku Baboni now.
Yeah.
This is how I'm going to enter. Now, people did not read meaning into how the boy went into the podium. Oba and of frost. There are two things. We call it where diplomacy meets culture.
Yes. Where diplomatic
meets culture.
Okay.
A conjuncture of the two. The boy exhibited the two. Very intelligent guy.
Yes.
He went to the podium and straight away to the vice president. And then the Burkina culture. How many tribal settings know Burkina? Half of Burkina population, they are Moshis. They have Fulani.
Okay.
They have the Gurinzi. They have the Mende. They have other tribes. He's a Moshi boy. In the Moshi culture, which we have the same thing in the Ghanaian North. So when you are going to greet a woman who can be your mother, you take off your cap.
Oh, I move video no enter honomo so that we can all relate to it. Yes.
And taking off your cap, you take off with the left. You don't take off the right. It's an insult. So he took off the cap with his left.
With his left.
Wow. And then stretch out. That's diplomacy with the right. And have a handshake with her. Please. Uncle Hagen say any mommy and aunt and family member ko wie and you no ko be Hagen. But do Hagen ka Ghana for baka say boy no pay vice president.
Also cry na bia so da.
Wako Hagen no. And no be another story.
Interesting.
On my diplomatic handshake. O move wie no who was still the president of the Republic of Ghana is already declared. But then who had been the interim president
that is
our receive no. He came here when Abambagwin was the president of Ghana. So he went to Abambagwin. But then, of course, I didn't know Chi Obanwe no. Or Sadeni Chenche. Or Dini Chenche said, he's a head of state of a country. He's wearing his cap. This is how he dressed.
Okay.
So Otuni Chenche Abambagwin is against diplomacy. He has lowered Burkina Faso to Ghana.
Oh.
And head of state and head of state. Vatican head of state is Pope, Holy See.
Wow.
On chain Ibrahim Traore. On chain Bassirou Faye of Senegal. Every head of state or head of government, all of them are the same. With the same power. It doesn't matter so a Russian president or Chinese president. In just ordinary Chinese share back. Whoever who be our kokro ya hwanyu.
Or no your pet.
Or no your pet. In terms of the president, age there is a number.
But in the case of the vice president or your bad year, your culture.
Oh man, culture. That's culture meeting diplomacy.
Interesting.
The boy existed.
Interesting.
Me, my whole, but I clap for him. I know what was going to happen.
But I was also standing right before, so I was observing, but
that is it.
Interesting.
Okochi ani wie no, oko president no, na ne cheshe no. One kasa as President Mama will put it, is my young brother. So beautiful. Oya ni young brother no, say Okochi President Mama no, went to nature.
That we went to nature because only your pet.
Only your pet. Now another interesting scenario people were talking about Ghana born. Kwame Nkrumah kura walking stick. Secretary okura walking stick.
Yes.
Mobutu Sese Seko okura walking stick. Kenneth Kaunda no okura walking stick. Eyadema no okura walking stick. Between you and I and all of us in the public listing, security experts Muntie, walking stick. A lot of them are guns. Omar Bashir and the walking stick, and it was a gun.
Oh, I see.
Sanya gun cry walking stick. May God forbid. A crown or you win payam. And it you before so be here or be armono. Near this armono. Then they dangerous. In Tinka Traore by and no cry walking sticker. And Kabakas and
dangerous weapon.
It's dangerous more than even the gun.
I see.
And nobody knows whether he had ammunition in the gun or it was a toy gun. I wanted the Hiamo, near Timanya, professors, lecturers, Ghana security experts, Timika Mujina political science school, a lecture and cry said it was even wrong. So the military uniform, a bad democratically elected president swearing in. And I've told you and I've educated you, say, even the congregation of the United Nations General Assembly, they were wearing more than 35 military uniforms. Mexico for Ceausescu of Romania. He was a military leader.
I see.
Or called UN chamber with military uniform. What about the Peru? What about the Ecuador? What about El Salvador? What about the Colombiana? What about Papua New Guinea? All of them were military leaders in the 90s, etc. But they come to the UN chamber with military uniform. So please, let's get it clear. So I'm crying out, diplomacy, I'm not to a lecture, my dear. No. So lecture biaba, no baba catcher or say. Democratically elected president, you have a military uniform, coach, and catch and say UN Secretary General, you have the military uniform channel.
I see.
I've cleared that part of it.
Yeah, sure.
So the guy came.
No, but before you proceed, Mami who said this same scenario, yeka wasem ebiesi dana.
Say Obi President Bikra Kwacha Obi.
Yes.
Now you be. It is even extreme for anybody to imagine. It's extreme.
Because President Kufuor, in the case of President Kufuor and President Bush.
Yes. Remember how?
Okay.
President Bush visit to President Kufuor. I did.
Okay.
Some works.
Oh, okay.
Protocols at the airport.
Yes.
I'm
interested because related to this.
President Kufuor is alive.
Yes, sure.
Say, American for checklist. And no protocol, diplomatic protocols. Diplomatic protocols, I've said, is not about any ordinary security intelligence. The diplomatic protocols is something I've said is based on principles and agreements. Or the checklist by America for the old reading we call Abubefu. What are some of them? President Kufuor Koshia George Bush, that one was okay. Or call a culture assembly, or the Nekoi, US or bar, radar control, flights, radar control, America for take over. Munko Ghana Civil Aviation go.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes.
How?
2 hours before the flight of US President Obama, Clinton, Bush, Ebesa Ghana, within 2 hours, they will instruct the country Ghana as part of the protocol agreement. Say, yeah, my plane, yeah, my Ghana airspace.
Wow.
And then the West Africa, Ghana, a radar control, no kwa de Jerumo ya de, Ghana for ya de. Your radar control in Timukwa could do Lagos. Nigeria for the Intimiduha. Your radar control, Chem Wagadugu.
I see.
A Chem Cote d'Ivoire. In America for another making sure said there's a total clearance in the air. President Kufuor signing and I won't sign it. Minua kakre here no sign it. Checklist one. No take it. Or the 2 aircraft, 1 backup. President India need the second to land, but the first one to land on the Air Force backup. But Chobetiasiana no take it. Air Force. Say Nampesu America before saw Babahano. Now the Marines about 3 months ahead of the visit in Umbidio Krumha. I exercise, security exercise. I kombu ya yinina, ya airport wa baby. Omu no maba. Hotels or high buildings across Oma cultures Umbeji, including the tower of the airport.
Oh.
Part of the agreements. He's no more president, so I can speak on the subject. So if it was a president, President Kufuor giving in. It is called agreement diplomatic. Agreements of diplomacy. What he has said, do visit, also of the visit. Agreements of the visit. Meba or call Castle Osu. American Judy President Kufuor nearby name the security protocols. They say United States President or call African country. Enye UK no ko enye Germany enye ya bia omojuom settings ni di no e bia na President Kufuor kura nim and say obi meham ye mienu no we will scan the executive wing and the offices, so the president have to step out from his office.
Oh,
near move and krama na kum.
How? Why?
The service dogs.
Why?
Or scanning for omo bi
president it's your no office now or receive another president from outside. Is he a movie president now or no host president in the office? Now camera was scanning home.
When I'm going to say we delay what is called emotions. Diplomacy has got nothing to do with emotions.
Interesting. I mean,
diplomacy has got nothing to do with feelings. Diplomacy has nothing to do with social illustration. They're all kind of a combination of social illustrations and emotions.
Interesting.
And then what you call it expectations. Diplomacy has got no expectations. We are talking about subject, object, principle, and then standard practice. do you and friend standard practice also president ko for nya me ba de bia no bibi kwa no bi power you bibi enti agye ni say me enu na be save kodwo pianim office come on get out obi abepie yes can obi a
wow
executive wing bia na nkrama na ba out no ma be certify o wa sheki the service commander of the dogs akre ansa na president ko say wuji so mu di agro omu wi ya no 2 days visit Abrabo George Bush called one country president Kufo for a offer. Now Mumisa say George Bush called part of the protocols I signing here. Now Obian Timin find a new share the direction of President Bush and President Kufo right from the VVIP launch.
Why?
That time so what I say immigration boss near friend Matthias, he was there.
Okay.
Colonel, the coordinator, security coordinator of Ghana Aviation International Airport, Kotoka. I entered, but I'm the security. Let's get the fuck out of here. Come on, get out. Sergeant on duty, no control. Oma take over Ghana VVIP. What did we do? Obia ojina hobia, mo journalists who check it, mo search. Journalists, you don't go. Anyaka tipa truck and the DC tamak no so yes scanning wo mu cameras we na dom nyina kini KG wo mu and the marines twa wo mu hia they were the people who were having a site. President Kofoni ni ministers odom ko nyina no everybody has to turn around. President and his wife, Bush and his wife, they were the people working on the red carpet. Time now all room now oba besini akofa ne kind the beast before he goes to join the aircraft na Ghana Culture Assembly omo bokiti eno na dey receive no problem ama all corner ye bokiti no edija no kwan no na US Army young boy okọ ba bi om bokiti no they spend musical for coordinator if any bo apia or ho am friend mu musa nsa me say because I was there omo bonyum nkran ne sa gegre na kwan no kama no say they have to scan the drums na krama na ko am say drums no say Bush bantom ko touch na yam no new drums e na abo na mpeke cent ni ye abo ni shaky drum be 2 US Army or fight twene no de sika wo mu say bra say you know butu twene ni 2 get out for out of here mo fa mo twene ni free onko.
Interesting.
It was part and agreements of the protocols said they make sure say omo yo mo adwuma almost say almost na some security aspect then you know you don't know about security, you don't know diplomatic security, diplomatic intelligence, don't talk. Now I tell you and when him dey buy and obia share outside only journalists kakra na keju omo and omjia no mo hwe even George Bush, President Kufo Jano Kwai, Mumusa President Mama, Mumusa former president Bia, oh belts, red carpet Ruba Bia, oh the host in Udu. Udra, no Ajina ho. Now I turn it. Bush, also no diplomatic.
Yeah, sure.
And you know, Nante Basabasa. The coordinator was a sergeant. Or chair President Kufo, and one of the news in or Shaton, stand there, Mr. President. No, because we State Department, they are monitoring him from America. And we and we're walking in. American president does not go in front of the car to sit. You go through the back.
Okay.
Into a call back, you know. On Tinaka and Munku be done, some said, will be a bre, na president, na, no more than who dare you, American. Omu mani jina ho. Then the coordinator through his ears, State Department is watching. 1, 2, 3 instructions. Bush Tinaka and Muno, so the Muno channel. Or then sat to a pump, more canashim.
Oh.
Or turn the car and you are a beast in 2 years. Echo Tamak, when young President Kufo and Yanan could you clean no. Can in the dinner free hop and a dinner coil into a full staircase in you and Wajinasro while we woo and look away when a chakra your back cannon start to form. You push him in. After will be to me down any. I'm out for a general about 45 minutes and if you're dying. Do you understand what is called diplomatic protocol? I mean, that's a job. When Nana Addo swearing in, but the Gabonese president by on record, His Excellency Nana Addo government and inviting Odimba Omabongo. When we had the protocols, the checklist, any agreements, I did the Gabon part, or say the Ghana part.
Oh, okay.
The president was built to go and rest from airport. Our Kempiski, Yamane dying.
Okay.
But now Gabonese students, because no free election then chair. No position for Jampiano, Jampian Chinese now or contesting. All the students are big good Kempiski, ever discrediting the presence, and I picked that intelligence. So we decided not to bring the president to Kempiski for that humiliation. I, coach me and asked Sergey, I took Prestige apartments, opposite Korea Embassy at the back of police headquarters. A president, I'm Kwaji house, and I ground floor. And from airport now, arrival ceremony in New Year, straight away, they catch a motor rider near decided, and we informed the national security, we informed the Presidential Protection Force, say Gabonese president in our Kempiski, Bayam Fanenko. This is why we are going, so they should be on alert. Straight away, I didn't call Prestige. What did they mention? Now, from Prestige, straight away, we are bringing him to the podium. We are podium no. Once the president is swearing in, we are. International Conference Center, no receive, no tete-a-tete, another proper official handshake, no more wishing well. Then agreement with Ghana and what I signed was that President Onna, two from the
Onna Ghana,
Derby, Onna. The security coordinator was a Chinese man. Okachem's Al on Dopa is usually on Valley, on the party. They are not sleeping here, they will go. So that one was known. We communicate to the Ghana government, say Gabonese government will seek a passage after greeting the president post swearing in. In the the co-chair president in Uyeno, back into his car. We have the detailed other cars, convoy cars in the line straight away. But the 30 contingent, and you didn't know, these are certain protocols, sir. It has nothing to do with anybody who claims to be a cyber security expert. No. Ambajo Jimmy. Obiako, Nigeria, Aso Rock, to visit, to go to Nigerian presidency. It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
The kind of processes that you go, the kind of security tubes that be going through. Yani adini ama birthday party near president no maba no abesa because it's a calm country, it's a peaceful country.
Yeah, sure.
It's me. Not that we stand there no. So be baha. Now Bass said, and your country need to invite no. Traveling Ghana and inviting President Mahama and inviting no. He was coming because of President Mahama. He didn't come because of Republic of Ghana. Into a friend. And President Mahama had assured, say, or establish diplomatic relations, which is the very thing. On pay, ni neighbor so no more problems. Or saying in one union, problem or how solve. Because our trade bilateral and our culture, our tribal settings, you know, in our border. We've spoken about President Kufuor name Edison. Obama Bahano, Oko Cape Coast. So be who the entourage or the Cape Coast. Now American soldiers nearby no. Why no own create you? Marine for no ebi okroma deda, but we don't buy in they were gun wielding army marines. Oh. And no move president, you know. Now mention Obama buy among call Holiday Inn Hotel. Me, I say things and give references so that you can check. Omuba and Holiday Inn Hotel, that was camouflage place where the president was supposed to sleep.
Oh.
A dummy place.
I see.
But no in a safe house.
Oh, okay.
We can't safe house. We'll be aware, you know. They understand.
Sure.
Not in a safe house, American phone him so better.
Oh, okay.
Do you get it?
But now you're Holiday Inn.
The Holiday Inn Hotel. Floor 1, floor 2, floor 3, up to 5th floor. Room 509. That also they gave Americans gave to Ghana. Say room on my general demo Obama no 509 hono koda. Monko Holiday Inn Hotel go business or die. Obeda ho. all bano the whole Holiday Inn hotel so you know omo fine. And omo
even when he's not sleeping there.
Oh, so we don't miss Babada. They create the dummy. And omo first floor. And omo second floor. And omo nkrama de gumu. Ah. Nkrama. America's sniffer dogs. Service security dogs, FBI, CIA, Krama be about FBI agent, a CIA agent, a be a SSS, state security agents. Omunina baby, Omun number that anymore, or first second floor, and no seal of the staircase, and no seal of the elevator up to the 5th floor.
Interesting.
And then they put Ghana National Security, and of course some of them were BNIs to mix up with them. Also to have a blend of the local settings.
Yeah, sure.
But American still are on traso. In Ghana security quad in the Bamano, or Messa Scano or pocket. As I know, I could post.
That's an uncle.
What mount crept you?
We be the truth.
Oh, my own crept you.
Wow.
Obama, Messom J. Dine, Holiday Inn Hotel, 2 floors, no man crama demo. And no more top. Until say American president obey free the airspace of Ghana. And so a sniper a phone kwan no omu free ho. Radar control no omu free ho. They make sure that the president is out of the airspace of Ghana. And so no marines in omu radar control a monitors and so no omu see from. That another president in no court. Then they have the other way omu so be follow no.
I see.
That is how the security protocols and then the intelligence protocols. So there's a difference between diplomatic intelligence protocols and then ordinary security protocols. These are what Cyber Cafe, and then it's not about somebody's the old expectations. But what they are saying.
Yes. Matthias, but during the swearing in ceremony,
yes,
you could observe after so Kokuchia Ibrahim Kokuchia I don't know if I should call the then president or
already a president of Ghana.
No, me can speaker.
Yes.
Speaker Nyadaje Church Burkina Mwede Church Ghana for said they are men of brave men and what have you.
So no
yes, so now other countries were Musa. And all the other 21 heads of states now would say the other side and I could see say Ibrahim Ukono, I don't recall so Chiao. He didn't shake hands with them.
The ECOWAS leaders,
yes,
the African Union, they claim to have a problem with the boy because a coup, but he's not the only person to have staged a coup.
Oh, okay.
And you can't say no more problem. There is what is called maybe irregular friendship. And a boy in Subai, and he's concentrating on his country. He's only been out to Russia and been to Ghana.
Oh,
and no about business. Well, he's a serious person. So this is what the guy came in. He came in with energy.
Yes.
He came in with charisma. He came in with diplomatic intelligence. Very resolute. Very respectful. But then he came in as a soldier. But what they say?
Yeah, sure.
So you saw him say he's very energetic. Oh yeah. Very enthusiastic about what he's doing. Very, very smart on what he's doing. And then he carried the country Burkina and the youthful exuberance and the expectations of Burkina who were watching him. So he goes into any other country with the same bravery.
Oh, I see.
And that is what I said.
I see.
The signature. Go ahead.
And unfortunately, V-shape Nana Okano.
Yes.
I could see in the military, Tama not crowd.
Yes.
Now Ebinumujina one side and the other side.
That is you. That one you call it. When you they gave him U-shape.
Oh.
I was saying no team
yeah, sure.
Until they cover the back.
Oh, okay.
No man
so they
yes, of course, the U-shape. They themselves, they don't go ceremony.
And they were carrying bags.
They have detonators. Wow. They have detonators. Bag look as to say other president to another bag no. There be one accountable impress. It was Everyone the BP drops. They call us. Cholesterol drew gumu no me prostate drew cholesterol the BP gumu ada de senti na ebi campaign bag ne kura no adro ngura what is the mention
but quite interesting to know they move away from the sorry in Nayemra the State of the Nation's address. I mean the president's security or collapse here.
Yes.
Abrana, the president, Emma, the State of the Nation's address.
Yes.
At that point in time, or collapse here, you could see some pages. In fact, let me say this. So I could see the reaction of some of the medical team, which to me it wasn't the best. Few minutes later, it took about more than 3-4 minutes, and Sana, the vice president's security, or the police service, General President Chief. Then over 10 minutes. And yes, so Jennifer Fra over replacing one dressing to say the president's security guard. What is that security implication all about?
Okay, so one, I've said and I repeat again, a joking paradise.
Oh,
Ghana is a joking paradise. Okay, because on him say Parliament, I want a heart attack. Parliament in the world, heart attack. Politicians, more HBP patients, baby, cholesterol patients, baby, and any serious nation. Parliament, including the oldest parliament in the world, which is Iceland, they introduced parliament in the Nordic. Almost every serious nation parliament, American Congress, American Senate, US, UK, lower, upper chambers, etc. They make sure there's a standby emergency physician, a standby medical team. They are not shown, but they have their room and they are there.
Yeah.
But what they are there?
Yeah, sure.
It should not take more than a minute.
Not more than a minute?
Not more than a minute for them to walk in the chamber. Because parliamentarians will be called to an out of shock.
Yeah, sure.
But what they are saying? And you're Nigerian for Senate now. Say, Ubia di Bonnet, and I say, calling Senator to no down. And you're Nubia. In a proper worst case scenario, organic.
Okay.
So the moment that the man obi a cracker say and now no so jenino all call from one who's oba betiato and a wanka there say obi no BP so anya HBP high blood pressure or the then will beat him he's not in control of himself.
Yeah, sure.
I'll bet him say benya BP president nana do any somu the president would have held him. So sure the president was even this,
no,
he didn't know
were in the
that's
first
what
place.
I mean.
Until the reaction from the members of parliament
Public,
and then my president telling the and quickly first person who began to call Katie Hammond. At
that time, now medical team boy.
It took about
but
3 minutes.
Any serious nation, if Ghana is not a joking paradise, but they see anything, you know, His Excellency President Mama is your regime now. We don't talk about what is in the past. It is your duty to make sure that thing is fixed. Honorable Bagwen, it is your duty to make sure that Parliament will have a standby medical team with defibrillators, with shockers, certified nurse, certified physician on the budget of what? Parliament. Our mobile Parliament 24 hours.
Now, so no munya a water tender, a fire tender cressy hono maybe credit.
So much you know, ya bompa ya ontienshi. What I say?
Yeah.
And team emergency situation. And I will how it took how many minutes and San will be baba. That is where and how we say in a situation of a country that does not take security at a certain level, with essence, with seriousness, and that is where. Assuming, that's not what I'm trying to say, but possibility say, say guy no fake here, and no what external motive, and no more group be something to distort the attention of the parliament, including the president. And to time like by a pandemonium reactions, you know, before saying an abachin and nanki abachin no dada.
But the CDS, that's CDS it's here demo. And IGP so to the other side.
Yes, IGP tell me it take send IGP to jump into the forum. Only chief of defense staff. It take how many minutes?
Oh, but no much what that.
Thank you, and I'm chair say. They are all
sorry.
Their duty, yes. Their duty, they are also part
yes, sure.
of the Presidential Protection Force.
Yeah.
At that level. One would have seen, say, Sebi, Brunia, Komkran the medical rashi. What are they supposed to do? Man, who said, Obi, they're supposed to quickly go and round
the president.
Yes, sir. He was the first person to be protected because it could have been a fake.
Yeah.
It could have been a stage. It could have been anything else.
And could they have also moved him out of the podium?
Exactly, you moved him out from the podium. Nanado was standing there waiting to continue and read.
Yes. And
and they didn't take the president to.
And nobody also. Nobody paid attention.
And then I'm sure say Colombia, I'm Latin America, and come papa ne de no koi.
Oh, I see.
But what I say?
Yes.
When you speak at home, when you're president, sure, when you're chief of staff, or family and send you are. One aka. The next in command, the Auditor General, also at an office. The Ben the president of Ghana.
Wow. Interesting.
What does I say?
Yes.
Because now the vice president, maybe. Not vice president.
Oh, not vice president.
Sorry,
not
vice president. Yes, indeed. In
fact, the vice president.
Sorry, four. President, the vice.
Yes, and
a speaker, and a chief
justice. In fact,
chief
justice.
And Nipa four. The next president of Ghana, Auditor General. And she's an Kobe by one for the Dome Koya.
But another observation, before say I may go into details of that. So the etishi area no, or collapse area no, you could see say na ne chenda social.
Oh, send the channel name too. I don't know force my channel. I channel decided to meaning say we're good military to no share cheni.
But the na hit so. I mean, but that people also felt to say, "Naki so much to the channel," because at that point in time, he wasn't of himself.
I'm just we have ventilation.
Yes.
Say Brunia.
And then I force me training. I remember me say, "KTM will not compare them."
Okay, on call send or responding to emergency because only medical team be out there.
Oh, but if for by, I mean, ambulance for by.
Ambulance for by.
Within some short period.
Within short period, that's okay. But I'm saying, say, all these things, you know, now, they say, medical team, no, you have small back seat. No more chamber anymore. They are ready with their defibrillators to shock them, to defibrillate them in case somebody has that a shock.
Okay.
And now a Brunia or top form, no, yeah, they believe you in a rank. Brunia come to chain a rank and no training. You have to empty him. I say, on your bare chest, no CPR. I didn't see anybody
it took more than 10 minutes before they could do that. And I saw it.
That's what I mean.
Directly.
Papa, they should have within a
wow.
American fuck the shit out of it. I'm sorry. Why didn't what uniform no quite go? The body, the human being, uniform can always be fixed. Uniform can be gone so the Abaka can say uniform no. You attend a rank. Joking paradise. But what I say? You be a parliament, you know. What is said this issue? I expect said the first topical issue would have been that story and that encounter of what happened during the Sona. And for that matter, the Speaker of Parliament and the speakers, the Parliament, the ranking members, both sides would have raised that issue. At the same Parliament, no police for no market. How come, sir, such a thing has happened? It could have happened to the president. It could have happened to the speaker. It could have happened to any other president. Look at the response and the security. But what I say? And think a parliament, that should have been the first thing that they have to make sure and ensure say they are passing a bill, even though they have already the medical team, but they should structure the medical team well. Now, what is called assigned entities.
Okay.
BBC who comes in? BBC, who are the first point of call? BBC, who are the first team to go closer?
I see.
And then how would the president be protected in the pandemonium? More exposed to president. So he was in wilderness.
That is
so and true.
That's so true. And then two quick questions.
Go ahead.
President Mabefrisuno, we heard and we saw so many national security operators, among so many presidents, Ediomoka. Some of them, maybe no more strike near there, maybe no more tabletop, 1,500 Ghana cedis. Some of the police officers were complaining, the military were also complaining, our Flagstaff House. Some of them, it took a government official, be to say, I don't want to mention names, but some government official be now, go in the Coco rescue the situation. Whilst near Campo others, Blue Gates, the Ministry of the National Security Ministry, now, say, I might be free sooner, all these security issues next at say poppy bar. Does it have any implication now?
Okay, first of all, what happens? We don't have a clear cut of a security administration at the presidency, apart from say your director of operations. But your police administration, our presidency.
Yeah.
But the Okano, it bothers on say, your presidency, no. Sorry to say. Anybody that feels say he knows somebody or closer to the government, Otimi, Asian uniform Krakotanaobi. The national security, only the coordinator of all security operations, especially at the presidency, supported by the Presidential Protection Force, supported by the police administration, that is the security community at the presidency. Omonam Bayese. Who are they? You brought boys and Omunagu a car park hall, and everybody call himself national security personnel or badge, only badge, but it is identified as KB or JB. And Tidabi or Soranapa, Otimi woman himself, Ekokotana presidency obi. And at what point in a French culture, at what point in any civilized culture, say President be called, now you're a team, call themselves, say, you're security operatives, our presidency, you're 8 years. What makes Kayam? It's very shameful, eh?
And at the point, they had to block the president.
I said,
from moving.
It's very shameful. Wow. His Excellency President Mama, over to you. The National Democratic Congress also have done that in the past. They've done it President Mills' time. They've done it President Mama's time. Those who go out there to hang at the presidency. The only president, in my view, was President Kufuor. Because PNM didn't allow.
Yeah, sure.
They had sanity, they had respect, and they made sure, say, whoever comes to the presidency must be enlisted as part and parcel of the security coordinating list or team.
Okay.
And Sadiano, President Mama, emphanye the top agenda. Now on submit it to the national security, say, may the only 25 people and their co-presidency, may the only 10 and the do operations, may the only 5. And this is the clear-cut number. Na nipa me brebe na omkugu car park hall presidency no. These are the people. President ni ko ahane sunyane a na omo ankasa on their own. Otu the car no the presidential convoy nachi just to be part of it because omkoba ni ache skadia momo. So that thing, the office of the chief of staff, because normally the chief of staff budget you don't need to do that. You cannot do that as a country. We can practice those kind of jokes and continue to feel say we are having a governance. No.
All right. Finally, my question. Obey available as several Mahama should in case a person from Abebuano as a diplomatic an international diplomatic consultant.
What's the matter?
Maybe so.
Well, send me again.
Obey available.
Send me available provided I'll not be as NDC or MPP employed or any person to serve. I can serve as a Ghanaian.
Okay.
But let me put something on record. There are things that we've done on the back that didn't come out.
Okay.
And I'm saying this because President Mahama is back as a president. Somewhere around 2015, 2014, now President Mahama and Buhari, because of good luck exiting, now rift kakra, rift, but then there was discomfort. Let me put it that way, better word to choose. Buhari ebufui because Nigeria Energy Minister design. Na wama Ghana ye use gas near the Kanye and we had an arrangement through certain company I can put on air. And near gas in a car. Tina so Buhari at a point and lawyer then and or two Ghana gas. But what they say, supply to Ghana. Because Buhari was the energy minister throughout his 8 years in Inano, one energy minister. Nigerian President Buhari was Nigerian oil minister throughout his 8 years.
Oh, I see.
And to know as an oil minister, no, and or two gas.
Watching the more.
Or two gas. Minister of Foreign Affairs at that time was Madam Heneteta.
Yeah.
Minister of Energy was Boa.
Amakofi Boa.
Kofi Abujinapo.
Yeah.
President was Republic was President Mahama. It was difficult to go to Buhari because we had a problem with him. And in this case, Nigerian Ministry of Oil, Ministry of Oil was at the presidency, Aso Rock, and on what to gas him. Say Ghana didn't care you try you gas. I to Ghana to Aso Rock. Mene the late Michael Obobi, who was an aide to the president. And I'm saying this because President Mahama is back to power. I'm saying this on record for the first time publicly. I'm not a foreign minister of Ghana. I was not the energy minister. The energy minister, the foreign minister, except the president who knew what was going on. And to me, the Michael Obobi, I didn't call Nigeria. When I was taking him to Nigeria, Virgin Nigeria flight ticket was sponsored by myself. Oh. We went to sleep at a Grafton Hotel in Wusetu near the Aso Rock. It was my money that I paid for my own room. Marco Bobi paid. I took Marco Bobi to Nigeria presidency. When we went to the Aso Rock to go and see Buhari, Alhaji Minor, Commander Manu, Director Intelligence of Nigeria Army Commander, my good self, and then Alhaji Mekano, who was the AO, Administrative Officer of Buhari. President Mama is a president, he knows what I'm talking about. Yeah. When I took Marco Bobi in there, and when we went to Mekano, we went to sit in Buhari's office and told him, say, this is the situation. I said, yes, he's aware. He raised an issue, upbeat, but this is not an issue. He jokingly said, say, I swear in no. His Excellency President Mama, Ninu Aketwa, or no be head of state in the 80s, and was in Sanya Bukrana and Ninu Aketwa. But Roman said, a good luck no choir on woman himself. Time I yes, I did not President Mama. Ako in Lorraine University, our Nigeria, no Koji Award. So Buhari jokingly told us, say, he's the president of Nigeria, and in Gobetima Loco, the airspace. Yeah. Now President Mama Nyako MP. He jokingly said, so I brokered the deal in Buhari's office with the late Marco Bobi, with a large minor, a lady who crew my friend Lovia Boatin. She knows about what I'm talking about. And Sana Buhari said, Ghana yen Chuebi. Into the amount that even we proposed to pay about $10 million, we ended up giving $3 million. But Buhari had told Marco Bobi, say, because of you, please Mekano, see to it. And to know president or oil minister, no, Mekano could draft a letter, no, and was Sadibre Buhari, and was signed before Ghana could make a deposit. Wow. Maybe I went with my own money, I came back with my own money. I like to serve and do things for the country, not necessary to serve any government in the name of either NDC or in the name of MPP.
May history be kind to you, Mr. Al Wahab.
Gracias.
Efedu Farouk Al Wahab, international diplomat.
In the validation tours today?
No.
Explain to us what these tours were supposed to do.
Okay. The truth is that we are receiving all manner of petitions that contains all manner of allegations. Some are very, very specific allegations. So the committee took a decision that at some point it's important to validate the allegation. For example, somebody says that somebody has built a house with stolen money. For example, is it okay to just put that in a report and say somebody said somebody has stolen money with built a house with stolen money? We don't think that is enough. So we decided that for some of the allegations, it's important to validate it, at least to know that there's actually a house there. Okay, that this house that this petitioner or complainer was talking about actually exists. They are, in respect of our tour yesterday, those are some of the specific complaints or petitions. And therefore, we thought it was very important to go around and visit this site and be sure that if we put this in a report, that it represents at least the truth of the petition to warrant further investigations.
So you went to see for yourselves?
Yes.
What are the things that you were being told were happening?
Yes.
And you talk about validation. Would you say what you saw was a true representation of what was in those petitions?
Yes, and in some instances worse. At the time some of the petitions came in, for example, if you look at the CSR bungalows, at the time the petitions came in, the complaint was that very senior scientists that work for the government were being ejected from their homes, and their families and themselves were being ejected from their homes to make way for private investors that had been given the land in cantonment. So at the time, the complaint was that this was apparently going on. By the time we got there yesterday, in fact, we actually saw one of the scientists' family. They were just about to exit the house. The rest had already been vacated. Apparently, they've been taunted with all manner of threats and themselves, their families. So some of them left. Have actually left the bungalows. So if we had not gotten there on time, I'm sure they would have been pulled out. So I would say that at some point it becomes a fluid situation. And what we saw, in my opinion, was worse than the petition had indicated.
I see. But you in fact, the interesting thing about your work is, okay, so let me establish. Now, are these the only petitions you had on lands?
No. In fact, even as we work, we are still getting petitions from the public. And then there are also other large-scale land appropriation that has not even come before the committee that is also known. And also understand that this is just Accra. We are talking about a nationwide appropriation of public land for private benefit.
You have received petitions from across the country?
No, I'm saying that there are two levels. There are petitions about specific issues, lands. This is just not all of it. Okay, we may go on further trips in the coming days. But I'm saying that these exercises that you see here, the appropriation of public land for private purposes, has happened over nationwide, okay, and happened over the past 8 years. So we're looking at something very, very widespread, and also understand that there are also appropriations of public lands that have not come before the committee that is also known. So this is a very serious situation we're dealing with. And so now I am just, for example, yesterday when I saw the scientists being evicted from their homes, I couldn't believe what a country we are building. I can't believe that. The number of years it takes to have an experienced scientist of that. And you know how science is. The fact that we go to a government bungalow and evict a scientist that works for the government, evict them and their families, it's something I find it difficult to agree with and understand. Okay. If, for example, you say you had bare government land which had nothing on it, and therefore you felt like this needs to be put to use, I can seem to agree with that if the processes are correct. But the fact that there are government apartments on it, and you are replacing the government apartment with a private apartment. Well, the people who work for the same government that you are taking their land and they have to work to make sure that your land documents are done, you are ejecting them from their homes. I find it difficult how anybody that has a public mandate conducts a business like this. I just find it very bizarre. I find it bizarre that a government agency that is working, they are working. It's not like they stop working or the land is vacant. They are working. They work every day to make sure that agriculture functions in this country. They are booted out and thrown into some outskirts, and somehow that is okay, so that private people can develop their land for themselves. It's as if that government people cannot live in cantonment. They have to live in the bush. Like I'm trying to understand what this massive land capture is all about.
So this is, and if I heard you right, this is not the end of your validation tour when it comes to land.
Yes, when it comes to land, no. This is not all. There are others.
Your own information, you have information that is not necessarily contain a petition before you that you also be following up on.
This is a very widespread operation. And I think it requires a very extensive, a very meticulous, a very consistent approach in dealing with it. And also, let me explain that oral is not just about land. There are other perhaps more serious things that are not physical. Okay, so we're talking about white-collar crimes like corruption, organized crimes, so all sorts of things. So it is not just about land. Land is the physical things that you see, that you can go there and validate and show the media. But there are other, perhaps equally or more sophisticated and more serious issues that we may have to deal with, which is especially at the level of white-collar crime, corruption, money laundering, things like that. Those are another level of it, of some of the petitions you receive. and some of the information that is already being processed or that is known to the system. So this is a very fluid and a very extensive, widespread occurrences in the past, few years, and requires some really serious efforts to ensure that the vision of the president is achieved. And we all have to thank God, to be honest. We all have to thank God that our president made this promise part of his campaign promise and did not just sit on it, has already begun with credibility in dealing with it. Because if you look at what was going on, another 4 years under the previous government, I don't think there would have been anything left.
Well, so, and now let me come to the other forms of petition you're talking about: white-collar crimes, corruption, misappropriation, among others. All the other petitions you're receiving. You are an investigator yourself, and I'm sure you know better than me that investigations takes a lot of work. But so what do you do, considering the fact that you're only supposed to gather information as a preparatory team? What do you do with those petitions when they come before you? How do you validate them?
So, for example, I look at petitions and then look at information, or I look at complaints. So, for example, if somebody has sent you, has said, look, this and this happened in my agency, and these are the documents. That's almost like a preliminary validation. There's a document that you can actually refer to, just like there's a land that you can go and see. It has attached a document that says this is what happened. Okay, so that is, for me, enough preliminary validation that if you want to start this investigation, there's a beginning paper trail, which is like the site of the land that we visited already. There are other petitions that has no documentation or anything. However, it is a tip that can lead you into something very significant. I call those complaints, and so it will be important to isolate those ones from those ones that have data attached to it that you can immediately, check. Okay, this happened here, this happened here, this happened there. That you can group together and work on.
Live show. To me, be any pressure be a. I
want to send town a vessel.
I bay for. GH boy, I bay for. I bay for. Come see.
Yes, sir.
You think what?
You did that, say. Yeah, dear Nabano. Yeah, dear Nabano. Oh, no, why? Oh, no, Miss Why?
Yeah. You imagine any this week, now for next week,
yes, in Grove, baby. Oh, you
no person better.
Yes, baby. Obviously, pays. Yes, you. I mean, that's all that worry. Now, Papa, you know what TV and see. No, platforms keep a luta ye. Oh, Mamma was so to see. Oh, I can be was what take. And the edge of platforms you will see. Oh, when you're serious.
What's the Obinam here? Obinam, sorry.
Masoli, many people have want to.
Hey, what them? Know.
If you won't collect to us, what you honor? Oh, crazy, now a Asante Radio Chama to meet home. Now, I'm here. Ogasi, Baba Box, kick off a goodbye. Yeah, more boxing. When you know what you can pay, you don't know what's it if you enemy. Oh, what's it if you enemy? And more, you bet them see, I am both spiritual and physically. Yeah. I go for an commission.
We answer him.
No, we are one. I take a can me home. and you couldn't go for Bosma Cassia going in a miniation a dano. And your bass and Timam Sudia, Kofi and Tella with the cup of my family before Messona Medano. Na hey pion, didn't connect. Tama Doctor Sadako Bosun by unso movino. Unquan will be a fino Busonsa. Now, what can I say? I did so at the top of Kawa. Yeah, now to the Biaka, the Tiflis are new. Tiflis with a coin. Yeah, what I mentioned that was Busunsa. No more your castle, which I say, once a 2 minutes will be some Omushu. Officially 2 minutes. Now 2 minutes, the more the base of a top from Sekim, we don't yam at the set secret attire by Nemocron, Zim. And I'm from a new era. I'm up for to create a pie. Feel be a tea, make a message will be in unity. Namero. Na papa was the first year, and we said that you may conquer her. The Swati, 6 national crown roll on. Make check, Nandra, there may I send them to call him. Now, so me think, me some person got a man at trial. Now, me cham president, His Excellency. The John Drummond Mahama, you too. Papa, you need now. A soft no almost say. And no class or better. Eh, young pretty entry to make us up. Two. As of now, what we do also better. Now, Uni, me twa, Debbie, you one. You go for some young man, Busumina, Kunya Kessan, because I tell me, a 1.5 year. Kakamania member was me bago. Woka, Embronma. We for boom. The soon be on the baby. Hey, Mamma call baby. I go to a drubu soon. They won a jelly and a honor. Me catch him play and go come good with their hobao. I confirm the bibao before my bomb the Kaku and son of Miba program. Nasi. What I say, once I'm crab with Yabako, me Danuko Sena, me Danuko see. Let's say, the much saying diversion. Me dabetino. E bi na bi pese ka papa yiko so yanaka green carpet as a red carpet na ka yi say no sunti kakra kra. Nanso amaso. Mo konko so abom so. Empa ya moboy na sofu bi cross sem kom krade. Na akwa bi krade ono krade on kan pese me boni di. Akwa bi
live show. To me bibia bio. Any pressure bia. Me say akada kro ye show na we ma. Na sound man na begina wachi no chinchim ne ekọ fa ho information no that's right information no here na chese you have cash as a battery na wo na for shim na ya de ekọ no we phobia ho enyu bi asema ati ase me ba na mbete say na be for me ensa na ye share o ha na sofo ba ko team abeifo na ewu mu no energia na enra kwa kwakubu nsam fa so edem kwa kwakubu nsam fa so ko Independence Square no nana kwaba
yebru kada
da bibia bokode
na me adu wa konkoden
that's it
mesiko kaza mesima konkoden
onso na nkra da say edwa kra say ombubu yi
me say abwan wo
wawu
kono tu se say eneno abayifo say miensa na ehia
hwan abayifo no
ye hwe mensa benkum so haya eye me wofa wo hwe se di nyankopon si describe na simu gire kama na bodwese no enwi ne lala skulala no eye white
asa o abayifo
wasaje na ni tiri hu de nyeti se papa bia wo hwe space ni de ne bia we ye kama na wo so no se de oni no si aye ayi na eni hu ani tentoa on say abodi ho were abodi ni hu achi pai wo kode it wo kode ni na e de ege eye no anyame de man ehu because of kanka nyame nti na papa no tifi jo no
papa we uni form
osofo na timi me ngu en consider the book Jesus
on e sofo wo on onya nya be yeri me so na duro
also commodities na
ba be for ba ko na gina na kwa we be for
ai wono na senten town na hweso
ai be for GH boy be for ai be for come see
Yes, sir.
Yetinkwa.
Yeti dase. Yeah, dear Nabano. Yeah, dear Nabano. Honorable, why? Honorable, Mr. Why?
Yeah. You beji any this week na for next week ikono.
Yes, in group we baby. Obviously, oh, you bitter.
No person better say.
Yes, baby. Obviously, pays. Yes, you. I mean, that's all that worry. Now, Papa, you know what if you have to see? No, it's not. Flowers, keep a loot. Oh, Mamma, who's so to see? Oh, I can't pay what's what take. And you ate your platforms, you won't see. Oh, when you're serious.
What's the Obinam here?
Obinam, say, sorry. Many without me, I don't want to. Hey, what the if you won't collect to us, what you honor? Oh, crazy. Now, a Asante Regional Chairman, to be home. Now, I'm here. Ocasio Bobox, take off a goodbye. Yeah, more boxing. When you know what Monko campaign, you don't know what's it if you any. Oh, what's it if you any. And that is you bet some see you both spiritual and physically. Yeah. I go for anka bia shim.
Omu answer him.
No bia wo na take kan nya me ho. Ani yekunu gopo bosuma kese ego nyina menu so ne dan no. Ani ye ba santimam so dia kofi entella with kap man fan fit bofo a me so na me dan no. Na he pian gini konakri. Tama doctor Sadio ko de bosu no ba unso mu fi no. Unko na obi afi na oguso nsa. Na waka asema chom se adisi o beto
kan wa ha.
Yeah, now to the beer car, the Tiflis are new.
Tiflis with the coin. Yeah, what I mentioned, I'm not going to say.
No more, your castle, which I say, once a 2 minutes will be some omushu. Office any 2 minutes. Now 2 minutes, the more the base of a top from say, Kim, we don't yam me at the set the great attire by Niamakron, Zim, and I'm from a new Emra. I'm up for to create a pie. Obi ayedi make mesi obi ayini na me no na papa bi o se first year man me say that me konko he no ne swati sim tuna shen kwa na ro me che na nra de me ase na pese me ko anim ho na so me timi me sim pese me ko che yima na toilet na me che me president his excellency the John Dramani Mahama due to papa wa yini nyina e sofo na o mo se ani okra so obeti ato Hey, yenyan praying entry to Menkasa. Tutu, yatu. Asofuna, Womujra was over theater. Na, Uni, Metuan, Debbie, Mewana. You go for Bosum young woman, Suminan, Kunyakes and the Cassachame. The one half a year. Kakamania member was me bago. Woka, Embronuma, we, for boom. Na sunsun bi o me baabi e den a he wo okọ mo amko baabi ekotu aduro bi wo so na wo Nigeria no ho no me catch him play enkoko am gotwa me dia ko ba ho a confirm me di ba ho before me ba me di ka kumnya mienu ansa na me ba program na se mo ati ase once na me kura bodua ba ko me dane ko se na me dane ko se e kire se de mo chi se nyina diversion me dabet no ebi na bi pese kapapa yi koso na ka green carpet as a red carpet na ka yi say no osunti kakra kra nanso amaso mon konko so abom so empa ya moboy na sofu bi kro chem kom kwade na akwa bi kwade ono kwade on kan pese me boni di akwa bi ye fe no ayi wo kuma se ayi mi amadamfo so no ko se wade no no crowd no say obi aye sofu a o ye de na secretary direction say went mansi o kura be ko bunsam dim na na do kwa no so ko e kire say munyina motwe nyankopon tro mo asa kwaje bosumom be fe hutalas bosumom de free Israel bo no ye fe hutalas and ye Israel for bosumom de ejina asase e wa abra tramantis wo ho e ho na Christopher nyina mogidie wo say moko bompaye ye ho sofu ya ho no ya ko bompaye ko ye fasting Edwa
suffer man
me suffer titiri ho suffer half
Over.
Bishop, praise God.
Yesterday.
So na sabe every as yanko wa twa bo bi ameto ni akosi ebesi na cathedral the first day me buy program I make one am se bi mo fa me for nam for me kum crash up ni kusua me ko na security for be mo me sa kokoko ana na me mutimi sini nde esi ni kira me yes me chan me kasa kranfa camera ba me yisha me tutugu e ho na be pam me fidi ho me ko dua me pege me asa me cha mo sa video ni na ana aka ho no lawyer for dan e bubu ogu na de me ka nyina say His Excellency John Dramani Mahama ba wa bai media for ni bia ya de kwose e ball ma ba so na media for ni bi edugo ma fu enenam ba ku bi de to abani we ya de che kura na yentini nka bi ye to abani we ye enso wo de DC for ni de una nim statistics ya wo o platform we ya na yi wa de safa say hwe na we abedo no ye say hwe na we abedo no kan de bia me hwe no
Paula Domelov
one America no
on the phone akoyira o
ebeyira
o hit report
ebeyira so me say me ko ku say ye to aba ye bobo ya ye say ayi indi ye MPP na for ope na me ma me fi on ko to abogu ho me to sa na makwa kwewa ma ye kumi o ko tutu bogu ma me nchense so afi de mra ba ko sina na wankwa se MPP for hwenia na no so be hye wo ka no fie ni nyina o makototo patru tina na frikroma me se me bosuma me sum ni gidi se me se John Dramani ma e ka se e ka fom se obeba o se na ba bia duna edi me se beba e tro mu twagu me so se mimi twa value papers na me salato ma me friend adukwe ma me na dabi oye ohwehwe abato so
Jane adukwe mensa
dabi sa de o kan ya ma kan do
Jane adukwe mensa
salato say
masa oh
Then Jane Mensa.
Jane adukwe mensa Jane adukwe
brof o se ya na ye de akura se ye ka din
adukwe nye brofudin
na mimi so de adukwe o
adukwe ka adukwe
ka Jemensa na nya sempo Jemensa na mimi o ka brofo mu ma mi ka de mprasifo nyina be hunu ana mi se mi na kwa gu nsam tu menye Jemensa ana makotwa value papers IPP for atro from ugu asantimam ene ofenso na ofofo mu nyina mu tie mi na mu tie ni ye abrantie bi ya fra no ayi yi yakoi Chilavet one me ba HH status Chilavet
ani di man
wo ball for mo bobo no no na di ye hodo nya e na chi ana me ba one ne bobo me ba panyi no no what me ko download video wa there in status about 2 weeks ago say me etidana about to me because I'm more pressure or pa me bomb pressure nye easy
now oban ne bobo
campaign na me ban bo me so me bo me bo 7 Jacko do nyam yen captain
Kwaku Mbappe
me say me boss 7 me ya me ni picture cha me share go this year and sana me beba say
no in fact
Kwaku Mbappe
yes so the way I see how one no about campaign time no e wana e daminia captain e from an interview concern about the say the besi akọ Bugla susum di niema no ebeto ho 64432 no beto se came
information no
eno ye NDC information e dey weni MPP for
information 64442
just e bebo amana abro so asan hyem and if 6442 what a kind 6442 can you know me say
6 4 10 14 16
and football
16 regions and so
that's right
information the fact
afa mo menua
information the fact
let you
but 6442 no what's that a 2 regions be no mo we ne
644
82 no and the ba I go for I want no say na ko ku nsam twa papers na Chilavet record download idea from me ba status no dia ma ye hofo no MPP for no no dia ba almost central no dey call Europe TV ni radio ni other radio stations any other radio stations one would call what say king e wa na fedie ye bro wakasi the whole Ghana na kwaku bon sam na de mo and what viral papers and what say me no wo say that day no kwa no manya gay hey ai na me no tachiman etimi ko magazine amene no point dia ne timche ne bonko ma na me say abande ya renia me no wa ne betwi so timi ka si ya tebiti am say ya frem ko so ba adanya yes you travel papers and pa no the police for come fie see am betchime na woni plan na on plan ye ne say say on person betchime of reason of ne say ya betchime a na gumanim ase etika police phone ba on be say dan invite o now boys o must set camera or phones no more than 200 our more chance police phone the building police station ho na because if the police can miss pay on be video na ko gumisa arrested mobile so am she tachiman hwanu gwase di gu me wow se mi travel papers wa abra de na de chete to aba na me top printer because me 40,000 copies mahama de 20,000 and me piece in 20,000 and ko 40,000 copies and na mate nipa 250 girls our modi program feature nkrase me ame kwa me sawa another set girls who di mechi 25 na isu escalate no na me su Ford no na me fidia me ama to egu machine musu no egu other pickup na yes ye call when they go
I do shall not campaign akasa
massive campaign me ko wanchi me ko campaign honorable Collins Dauda the crew mo ko campaign officer south be on say on north south ko campaign be bia meti say and this wa ho na din bia de wo say me bowl aho with my talaj
no one ko also no one ko
with my talaj entourage mo minister of Rumati yo through baby na dia me de ponko meti me ponko so
awatwa o
sao
obi beka entourage sagana
no can say
one say entourage say fanatics
you can sound
fanatics I told you bro
what you say you go ho ni ko ana your house radio station bi ho me to airtime no within 3 months the whole month ni na na say and you put 20 million on your program bi say NDC nko a yes nyame nhira o mo pa e pro no pa 20 million say on your program bi say NDC ho asem eti me kobushi ababia me kobiara na na kwagu monzano mi wonyame ba kire number 2 ye bedura no na campaign na me yensama me de ma wo na ye life me kan nyina no me ka montoba ma John Dramani Mahama because was free education o me twam wo ba be ye ne kama double track ni be ye free ho say na de kumi kwa se me wa de makomako 8 no ma ba si ye I said, yeah, mammy, what a ma bangeba. Intima 80 no. Memory Quajibusia Banuya could be 200 times 80, 1.6 billion. There's a media meeting the idea, never trying to crack. No, my catch Romo, Tinomo who say the thing is going on. What do I say? 80.
I said no bro for but too much.
Some of it to me, Papa, me brother Panini.
Go for penny.
I come for penny. I don't look for penny.
No, ready.
One only Bosom.
What's the anniversary?
Oh, I didn't know was of just a soft those when you are just in confidence. Yes.
What's it?
What's it? You might not try, Madame Bono. Zimbabwe, wouldn't say, oh, Mexican country president is here. Botswana president, Yabaha. Emmanuel Traledo,
Emmanuel.
Burkina Faso president, Emmanuel,
okay.
If I didn't speak English for them to see what is going
English
on,
for them to hear
the English, yes. And when I mistake, my uncle is diabetic from East. And as I chat him, or speaker, main country or parliament, me for so. But for parliament, to think council president to Nya and Buntu on the now me tell my MP. Now me back you. Man,
is approved.
Yes, me go say
language there.
So if I approve.
Yeah, brofo.
That's right.
She and crying. And now I'm say 5 languages.
Yeah, sure.
Mo etimima kwabura afre na mekwe Mr. Speaker Nana Kwaku Bonsam my road is teteteche in offensive of teteteche on just at a brofo no. Say me the brofo kan. Etimi ka teteteche me slice. What you say? Eti wasa me kase Mr. Speaker me srow offensive of constituency. Ye kwa nyina ya teteche so to a wudye fie ko.
Who's the Senegal president Bahana Ede? Who's the Senegal president Abaha?
Burkina Faso president.
Burkina.
Botswana president.
Okay. Yes.
All the
Nigeria president so ha.
Tinubu the under me munidi.
And you saw her with Jonathan.
Guys, Bama no. What we now was say. So if they
and I capture Kuchiano.
Yeah, and one number some Kuchia home. I am sana na me cry mama you a chena and penny for no one man binti come. That's
how they confront the own invitation.
Hey. Yes, you did invitation, no enter. And I'm saying a commander motority.
Then we confront the invitation on the other day. I know how come over to go through.
Massa, and not quite the mistake Mayban. Once a baby come out a drube filled to quick that from. Maybe the crummy something come say Allah. And no crowd away a was here. And a dear catahon. Oh, okay. And no, ye ma a via and tosso. Says we see how the chain pana walk.
To tell me now what it is.
Maybe I don't know.
Tell me now what it is.
Well, men are maybe Allah, when the Fed sapalio. We all body and the cramming. Your first and papa near somebody. Oh, okay. And the meeting from us and need competition. What in a Mr. Kumoro and Nana sa to create the la from and the Bokuna Suputri, Sansa, Kuabwa, the Diboni in our ha. A 2 year by Yena of Adam Sekuta and Safopem, Safwa Bacope. Okay. And so do a one. Proven with me. A 12 cover because Radam say, Miko Kubusam, Member President Bessie Igna, Opet Oko Sweetie. Now, me am no person can non from Naka if you ladies and gentlemen, ladies and boys. And I'm some more. Me credo kesen me kansi credo 8 and a shabi busi. E dina me tepo nko no sunu load run so me bro 3.
Nko so na out no.
Ofra ko de francho.
Hey.
What the way? And confirm abro no ma bibia meba chese and Nema etc. Who's a way different? Yeah. And then them two different. They are made to so any the bogle team. So be away slim ni be who near me kumebuna. When you turn Zanama for Tony, okay. There be a turn where you drew. Okay. So what I say, it is not me bano. I come with all the
not your country. Why? I have a tree station. Now make come at remind Talent one day. What's it?
You might try let me what table for no. Make a French area
with all the women you saw accoutrement.
All the accoutrement, yes. I came with all the accoutrement for boss is for me. Yeah.
As I'm supposed to do that time.
I'm me brought some of opportunity. Or also was the opportunity. Coming a message to conforce in the tea. And right. Now, me prepare my beer, or very rough. What people said, Dabim, I know we can't even say the actually. Would the idea the Takasi just because Janai? Ah. Yadi Takasio, Yadia was because Janai. But be a dreaded bread. I'm a president. His Excellency, when I'm a babako, I was trying to say, you won't assume. Ome yen frim enkwasum wo be share in na no na ho faso ne die ye
no fa no ho nyadaje fa no ho
we be mamu what them wo fa ye what bi che me si da bia maka nyankopon twimam nye tenten te sem wo fa
sa me bi do ko tenten sa ye
oh ni patiti so adie mai fata no tie afo bo no ye no ye
Mbappe.
Yeah. Masaya bro. Say go free say dey do kroma. Create TV station member advert so say me ko NDC. O ma say me ko NDC dia. Ye twa me contract mu. Radio station ni apam me. Nyame aboa na nra. Nananum Samanfo.
But then all band the nefe. Okay, you show no. As they budget so too much.
Na me tira da say. Na me tiri nai. Me ka say na me muno. The side of me no deep in my heart no name soon.
Okay.
But me no una be se me mna e yesede. Na se etenie ni krono sama ye dia to papa we so. Na papa we ba ya. Yesi mo go hwe ni se mo ho hwe. Na so wo mo di enwan enwoma kata mo ye pataku adufuru pefo no. Criminal upon amroba.
Hey.
Yes.
Come again.
Criminal upon not just a criminal child robber. Now, baby, I will discover say Kotigotam, I want to go to him. You say
criminal upon arm robber. Not just a criminal child robber.
Aye. Whoa! Not say it to Ghana, I say. Not say previous say Yado. Just say call it a see. Ra. Me do circle. Me fa the program me fa form. From Independence Square with my foot, my champagne.
Oh, I see.
I really in a set.
Na ponko no way.
Na ponko to the machi.
Oh, okay.
794 sa ko. I go do baby. Me do bia. Go do hotel na bedan no man ko da fi.
Oh, okay.
Ai man ko sapema. Ma go do baby a me kwa ko da no. E kire se asase yampo nyina mo a. Wa ye makoma so apede ade ama me.
Oh, I see.
Nananum Samanfo, Moja Makuma, Swap the Diamame, Opokabana, Waboye, a Busuma, a war voter region, a Busma Northern region, a Santa region, all the 16 regions in Ghana here, a Sofo Papa, and yes, of our comedy woman.
So for come deno. So for better come deno.
Azuka, come deno, the 3 years old.
Oh.
What was say, Mahama at me, Azuka Miniano, me yoko ba no.
Sir.
One on yourself was Sujuma.
Oh,
on yourself, we Sujuma.
Okay.
Now, dear, we are who may say, oh, you share with ye. What's a Mahama, we need a mess was all done. Who is a tell me, man, I want to question.
That's what between a question. So one is
what can public. Now, maybe say, be as a monk question, when you capture. Oh, your question at the evening was at an estimate to go from a question. Of who the best. Your question next 4 years. All make us as a medium. The of the message. God, no one say, Gabiana Gaga, or no one say, Mahama winning irons. You see, and no nama a bibi man ya catchery. No correct. So near general. No correct. Family, I'm in the door. No correct. At you way on one casa, IGP, at ye, what who say, Papa say. Mahama winya yenshina sorry that. Obi obesha sorry that be am rabia tibini anyone. That to was say how you TV kase so mitimi kase. That yes see a question. I say a question. I say now the TV. And I got